So recording. All right. We got folks. If you guys, this is your first time here, you know I'm terrible at doing things. Multitask. There's my, there we are. Some of you guys already know what's up. Thanks for being here. If you would like to come on camera, I'd love to have you on. Matter of fact, if not enough people come on camera, I'm just going to probably just cancel this because it's so boring for me. But raise your hand. There should be a little virtual hand here. Let me promote this to the panelists, and I'll promote you to a panelist. You get a promotion. Isn't that great? You get a promotion. Damon, yeah, I'll give you a promotion. Grizzly, you get a promotion. Tony T. I always love seeing Tony. Eric, promotion. Carlos, promotion. Always know I'm going to get some good questions when Carlos is on. Trevor from across the pond, promote you. UK. And Jack, my man Jack. This is my stoic Jack. Kevin. Guys, if you're just getting in, thank you so much for being here. If you're not a camera shy, or you're having a good hair day and you want to show it off, raise your hand. I'll put you on camera there. That looks like Fabrizio made it in here. Let me promote. John, good to see you. Promote. I keep trying to promote. You don't know what's going on there. Promote. Did you make it in here? I don't know. There's Ann. Promote. Iden. While I'm doing this, I'm going to do a couple more people. I see a lot of familiar faces. God, what a good looking bunch here. Fabricio. I love that gray hair, man. Gray, that's a good color. I love that. I don't know why I'm partial to that color. Who knows? And good to see you. Let's start out with some mojo moments. My mystery man, I'm going to have you hold off because I'm going to highlight you so you know who you are. But anybody have anything they'd like to celebrate, either wins and sales wise, just breakthroughs, insights coming in? I'd love to hear about those. My man, Jeff, you are promoted. Tanya, oh, good to see you. Arvel, awesome. Aaron, promotion, awesome.
Hey, dude, I'll share something if it's all good.
I would love it, dude.
I did I popped a T1 pre-T1 in a group, one of my clients' groups on Friday, and we're already like over 400. We're promoting a little low ticket deal. So there's about 400 peeps. It's about to get a 2-page Google Doc.
That's awesome.
A couple of days. So
that's awesome, dude. What price point you guys looking at?
So that one's going to be $29.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's super low ticket, but the whole point behind it is we're going to grab, all of those buyers. Yeah. And then we've actually got a launch for a $297 low ticket that's coming out. So who do you think we're going to, first we're going to go to all those peeps with it. Our goal is put in 300, but I think we're probably going to put 500 in. We put 150 in the first roll around awesome. Into that. So I think we're going to have a nice big fat payday there.
I love it, man. Anybody else got something they'd like to share? Some of you guys just got some of the materials and everything. Any breakthroughs, insights? Any ahas you guys have? We're doing the celebration section here. We'll wait for the Kleenex section to do the challenges and stuff. So awesome.
Yeah, I went through the hot button training.
Yeah,
that was included. And man, there's something about it where I just got it in a different way, where I finally understood like the difference between convincing and just going right for what they want.
Awesome.
I mean, it was really, really awesome.
That's great. How many of you guys have seen the BFOT, the Buying Frenzy Offer tool? It seems good. I'm glad. It seems really, really simple on the surface, but never in my 20 years of doing offers and sharing people with offers, putting those things in there, right? It's like the fastest way I've had to describe to people kind of off the street and have them put that together, right? And you're going to kind of see this play out as we talk about some of these examples and such. So if you're just getting here and you'd like to be on camera, having a good hair day, have your shirt on. That's a requirement. Not, what happens below the camera stays below the camera here on Mojo Zoom calls, but we'll try to keep shirts on here. But just raise your hand and I'm happy to bring you on. Awesome. Anybody else got something they would like to share other than my mystery man? We're going to grill him.
I'll just share something real quick. I just want to say thanks, Travis, for allowing us to sell your goods, part of the Bugatti deal. And you just motivated me 10x to step up my game with something I've been dragging my feet on. And I'm just excited about that. So thanks.
Dude, you're super welcome. I'm going to do some housekeeping where I'll talk about Bugatti, because that is, most people are taking the Bugatti. Not everybody can use that. Like Bernardo is not going to make money stuff to his relationship people or his personal development type people. And I totally get that, but most people are taking the Bugatti. So we're going to do some housekeeping on that for a minute. So some housekeeping, if you got the Bugatti, part of what we're waiting on is to get the rest of the training in here. Cause like this call here, right? You guys will be part of the training, right? So we'll probably slice and dice it out of there, right? So it'd be something that you're selling, if that makes sense. The technical part of the affiliate tools and everything is about done. I'm going to be getting you materials and stuff, but it's going to work pretty simply. You guys will take all the monies, right? I'm going to give you some sales materials. You get the GDoc and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to keep adding some sales materials for you guys, but you'll take the money and then I'll give you a link depending on what you sell that will do all the delivery for you. That way you can just give them the link. It to be out of your hair. You don't have to worry about uploading and downloading and all that kind of good stuff, right? So don't 100% know for sure when that's going to be 100% ready for you just to jam out. But I'm looking at probably the end of the week or the beginning of the next week. I have to look at my schedule, but I think probably next Tuesday we'll just do a Bugatti call where we kind of all get together, people on the Bugatti, and I show you how to get your affiliate links, or not your affiliate links, but your links and all that kind of stuff. Is that cool? Everybody down with that? Part of the reason why I did this so inexpensively is like I used to take $10,000, $25,000 advance deposit for the royalties because they figured it out all on their own. They did their own sales materials, right? But part of this is kind of, you guys are kind of guinea pigs on this. So as we put it together, if you guys can stand a little bit of mess in the kitchen, that's why I wanted to do it super cheap for you guys. If you guys decide you want to upgrade to the Bugatti, I'd be happy to have you. It's neither here nor there to me. I do have a payment program. If you'd rather do it on a payment program, just PM me. You may decide you want to at some point. I'm not saying I'll leave it open forever on that. And I'm raising the price every 20 people that come in. I'm raising the price. At some point, I'm going to close it off, and that way I can just focus on the people that got it, and we can get out there and have some fun and make some money on that. So. But I think the number one important thing is for you guys selling it successfully. If you're a Bugatti guy, is to get out there and do some campaigns on your own, right? My goodness, like even if you sell 4, 5, 6, 7, you can say, hey, I did this. Here's what I did, right? You don't have to use your own results if you don't have to, but you're going to come across in a way different way, and you're going to understand it way better, right? So doing these on your own is probably the biggest thing, right? That I can share with you. It's like pull something out, either you sell as an affiliate, or if you already have stuff, right, you can pull out. Make some $97 sales, make some $500 sales, make some $900 sales, right, on those, right? Not only are you going to make some cash, but you're going to understand the process. You're going to be able to sell it that much better. Does that make sense? Everybody down with the sickness on that, raise your hands if you're down with the sickness on that. Awesome. I've been listening to too much Disturbed lately. So awesome. Cool. So let's reveal our mystery man, and I'm going to kind of grill him pretty hard. Where did he get there? Oh, he's up in the top left. He's got the most perfect spot there. So dude, I am so freaking proud of you. Like there's a lot of reasons why I saw your campaign, I saw what you're doing, and there's just so much genius in it. But Tom Curtis is the man of the hour. What'd you end up with? Like 52 sales at 900 a piece, something like that?
Yeah, I did it the first couple days, it was 800. And then there was like a deadline for that special price. I raised it up $100. If I had to do over again, I'd do it more like 200 or 300, but whatever. So then it went up to 900. So I started on like a Wednesday or Thursday. If I had it to do over, I would have shortened that time as well. But yeah.
Let's talk about some of this, right? If you don't mind, would you share with people like what is kind of like the niche, right? Or what industry are you in?
Yeah, so it's the roofing industry. I owned a roofing company for a long time, and I served a specific niche. So I don't know where everybody's from, but it's the homeowner association market, which is like condos, townhomes, where there's like multiple units all in one community. And so I only ever served that niche. I didn't do anything else. And it turns out a lot of roofing contractors are trying to crack the code on how to get into that market, like how to get their foot in the door. That's what they're always saying. Like, so they're
so why do they want to get their foot in that door, right? Rather than just doing residential roofing and all that kind of stuff. What are they trying to do?
It's bigger jobs. You know, if you're putting on a roof on a house, well, that's just one roof on a house. But if you've got, you know, say 200, 300, 400, 500 condo or townhome units in one community that need all of their roofs replaced, or they need a bunch of roof repairs, that's big money. It's long-term money. It could be a long-term relationship where they're going to have all kinds of needs. And you are leveraging, that's the one thing, is you're leveraging a relationship with like one property manager that might manage multiple HOAs.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than like going and getting a house here and a house here all over the city or the town, well, you leverage a relationship with one property manager that can equal thousands of like single family homes.
That's great. So your group is about 1,900 of those folks, right? When you were first putting this together, right, you're like, and your doc is like 4 pages, but it's really like 3 pages because you got pictures and then like your pictures on the last page and those kind of things. Like before you put this out there, right, and you said you started with $800 price level.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts? Like, how well did you think this was going to go when you put this out there? You can just be frank. Like, how did you think it was going to go?
I had no idea. I just pulled that number out of my butt. Like, it wasn't like, I was trying to just kind of go low ticket just to try more of a low ticket thing with the Google Doc. I mean, I've used the Google Doc for, you know, $5,000 and $10,000 things in that group, but
that was one of the first genius things. I mean, you did a lot of genius things we're going to talk about in there, but like one of the first things that stood out to me was how you pre-sold the price. That's one of the 5 P's, is pre-selling that price, right? So it was almost a freaking no-brainer, right? Just the way, from a pricing standpoint, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, like I guess normally I would have not revealed the price in that post because it was like a hybrid, like a T1 and a T2, because, you know, I looked for the hand raisers and then qualified them there as well. And I anchored the price, right? I told them like straight up, like I have a mastermind. They paid like a total of 10 grand to be in there. Yeah. So I gave them that higher price. And then I was like, you know, I'm thinking of doing this for like $900. And then I did the whole IVQ thing, the investment value qualifier. So I get told the investment. Most people make it back with, I ended up tweaking it. Most people make it back with just one or two relationships, meetings with a property manager and maybe one simple repair.
So there's more genius stuff right there.
And then
you didn't say, hey, I'm going to help you add 8 figures to your roofing business, right? Hey, if you just open up one relationship, right? So you chunked it down to a smaller specific thing, which is really
and the thing is, like, these companies, like, most of them can't actually handle a lot of more stuff. They just can't. Right. Yeah. And so I try to tackle that real problem that they're having, is actually getting meetings with property managers and not fumbling that meeting, not just totally destroying it, which most of them do. So I did, the qualifier was gotta have big balls, big ovaries, because I did get some ladies that signed up.
Yeah.
And you can't be afraid to go talk to property managers. That's really it. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
A lot of hand raisers on the post, and then a lot of people messaged me as well.
That's awesome. So he's kind of in our buying frenzy offer tool. Basically what he's doing is he's filling out the give me blank and I'll give you blank, right? Give me $900 or give me $800, right? And he actually did it in a really cool way, which I haven't revealed yet, but he didn't say, I'm going to give you a course. I'm going to give you coaching. I'm going to give you training, which wouldn't be the appropriate thing for this, right? Because like we're just sending them to a doc. We're going to talk about this a little bit deeper, right? But how did you position the thing that they were getting from a conceptual standpoint?
Shoot, I'd have to look at the post. I know I was
I'm actually looking at your Google Doc, right? You said, hey, you're going to get this, right? Rather than call it a course or.
Shoot, where did it? Oh my gosh!
I'll go ahead. So you have to look for it. Yeah. You called it the HOA toolkit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't want it to feel like a course or coaching or anything like overwhelming. And they're used to using tools, right?
That's one of the genius parts of it. Yes, they're roofers. They're used to using tools, right? There was also a double entendre there. Not an entendre, maybe that's not the right word. This is what happens when an Arkansas boy starts to try to be fancy talker. But yes, it's a toolkit, but are they used to spending $400, $900, a couple of grand on tools already?
Oh yeah. When I owned my company, I was at Home Depot every day.
Yes. So you're just like, hey, there's just another tool, right? I'm going to give you the tools to locate the people, the relationships, how to open up the convos. And I'm kind of going from memory there, right? Yeah. But it's just a toolkit, right? Yeah. So super, super smart there.
And that's something I learned from you that really, really helped. So when I first started this, my focus, right, was, getting them these giant roofing jobs. And these can be several $100,000, over $1 million.
That's right.
That can overwhelm somebody if they're not prepared, because they'll need more manpower and stuff like that. And so I got to what, like the biggest result, the fastest and quickest, most meaningful result I could get for them, I realized, was just getting their foot in the door. Because I started letting the market write the marketing for me. So I was like, what are they asking about the most? And I went through posts in my group and comments, and I went to other groups, and it was like, hey, how do I get my foot in the door?
I'm afraid, like, I'm just gonna Ghostbuster you with goop of my proudness, right? Because what most people do, and you didn't do, is most people skip all those steps, and they're just like, buy my thing. It's going to give you this big, ginormous result, right? And then what happens? Then they got to be on phone calls. They got to do these webinars, right? And all these things. When you just say, like, what's that thing that help them check off their to-do list, right? But they may not. And really what you're helping them do is check off doing lower dollar jobs, right? In a sense, like, ooh, if you could get, one relationship that opens you up, like how many of these other jobs wouldn't you have to do anymore with this toolkit, right? So it was just like, it was a no-brainer, right? It was like, this is a no-brainer campaign, right? Like, they're used to spending those money on tools. They're used to buying tools. You named it the toolkit. You did a great job coming in there and positioning and pre-selling the price, right? Like, hey, and you don't always have to pre-sell price, like, hey, or anchor to some value price, right? But you can anchor to the pain of saying where they're at. We did really great. Like, hey, I'm not going to ask you 10K like I have in the past for this. I'm going to give you a really great deal, right? Do people like really great deals? I don't care if you're a roofer, right? Or a sommelier. Everybody likes really great deals, right? When we send out stuff, when Jeff and I send out stuff to our land people, cheap land alerts, right? Like, whoo, they want the deal on this thing. They want to see, like, I'm selling this to you the same price that it was sold for in 2006, right? 28 years ago, and you're getting it the same price in 2000. They're like, holy crap, right? And I could show it to them, right? It's a deal, right? So they love that. So, what question should I ask you that I didn't ask you? Like what, like anything that I'm not seeing below the surface there?
I don't know about a question, but there was one thing I wanted to point out that's been really helpful for me when doing this kind of stuff is, like when you say pre-sell the price. Now that can mean like, the price of the offer, but the other thing is like not just the price, but the cost. Like, what's it costing them?
Yeah.
To not get this stuff, I guess. Or what's it costing them to stay stuck going and doing all these houses everywhere else, as opposed to just leveraging one relationship, like one relationship with one property manager.
I love it, because you've given them, and we're going to go into this deeper, you've given them what I call a very simple plan, right? Here's all we got to do. We got to get one relationship. Does that seem way more doable than like, hey, let's get you, even getting a multi-million-dollar HOA job, right? Like, whew, that sounds so hard. But if I can show you how to open conversations, with the right person, that sounds so much more doable, right? So again, just a hat tip to you for the way that you
and one thing I focus on right in the beginning is like what they're actually offering. Like when I figured out in my company, when I owned my roofing company, like what I was actually offering had nothing to do with roofing services. So the funny thing is, we never talk about roofing. The stuff that's in that, the deliverables I gave them,
mm-hmm.
I really don't talk about roofing at all. It's just the relationship. And this isn't like a transformation thing. It's just, I haven't realized
Rudolph content
door there, really.
Yeah.
They're trying to get their foot in. It's just imaginary. Because, and I talk to them like, what your focus is when you're going to meet them. What's their focus? What's the most useful focus, right?
Yeah.
And they're focused on stuff that's completely different. I say, don't give them a business card, brochure.
Yeah.
Don't show them your wrapped truck that's in the parking lot. They don't care. And they're going to throw that stuff away anyway. And I've heard property managers say that they do that. So now the one question I was going to say, and I was sneaky about this offer is, what's the challenge I'm running them up to? So I'm just helping them from getting that foot in the door, getting the meetings. Then I show them how to get bidding opportunities, how to be the highest bidder and still get the job. So I give them a proposal template that's just awesome. And then I give them
one big pause. They're so genius. How to be the highest bidder and still get the job.
Yeah.
Is that like all these things there's another P. These are the plan, right? Like what he's doing is pre-selling the plan, which we're going to talk a lot about on the call today. is pre-selling the plan, right? And making sure that the plan's not too big that you can't pre-sell it in 2 to 4 pages, right? Or in the stuff before that, right? But what you're doing is pre-selling the plan. Almost nobody does that. You're like, oh, you got this problem? Buy my shit. Oh, you got this problem? It's terrible, isn't it? And they grind it in, then it's buy my shit. But they leave out all the other pre-sales in there. So that's really good, dude.
Yeah. So then I teach them like, one question to ask that, and it's how to bid higher.
You're gonna get it just for that. Good Lord, if I could get this one question, right? So yeah, I really like that.
I call it the $1 million question, because if you ask this question the right way and you use the proposal template I have, I don't guarantee they're gonna make $1 million, but I say
that's right.
It's a pretty good chance. It's just asking the property manager and the board members of the HOA, what concerns do you have about this job? So you get the truth on the table about what they're concerned about. Are they concerned about nails on the ground and how long is it going to take and the noise and all that? Awesome. Build the solutions to that problem in the proposal. Why would they go with anybody else? Once I started doing that, I never had to bid against anybody.
That's awesome. And that question probably has made you $1 million, right? Or
it was great.
Use it multi-million dollars. So that's great.
And I've used that in so many different capacities, not just roofing. But okay, now the problem I'm running them up to, the challenge, right? So I take them all the way up to having a proposal ready, answering that, getting the answer to that question. But then they've got to go, if it's a bigger job, 6-7 figures, they've got to go to the board meeting.
Yeah.
Got to pitch the job there. They got to do a slide presentation.
Yeah.
I don't show them how to do that. Because
that's totally cool, right? That's totally cool. As long as you're telling them what you're doing, right?
That part freaks them out. That's, even if they're standing in front of 4, 5, 6 board members and a property manager, that's public speaking. That's getting up in front of people. And there's a very delicate way to do it. Yeah. So I run them up to that challenge. And what I want to do is, for the ones that have maybe high 6-figure and 7-figure and above, any of those jobs, here's the challenge I see is pitching this the right way, getting everything put together so that you can shine and everything just flows perfectly and you can actually win that job. Feel like you want some help with that. So I'm hoping, so the bottom line, I want to help them win those jobs. I won't go there and pitch it for them, but because I want them to learn how to do it. And I'll take a percentage of the.
You can be their HOA meeting wingman.
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty awesome.
So there's nothing up front. It's just, hey, if you win it, then let's share the pie.
So, and that's really the bigger thing, right? Like, 52 people and 900-ish a piece, somewhere between 40 and 50 grand, right? First off, and I've been telling people this, and I hope I can lovingly get this across to you guys. One of the worst things you could do is just to never run this fucking campaign again. That'd be one of the worst things you can fucking do. He's already got it figured out. He's already got it done. My experience is it doesn't always bear out, but the second time you run it, you make more money. Because people saw it before and they're like, ooh, I wanted to get that last time, right? So, if you run it again in like October or fall, right? Or something like that, like you probably make the same amount of sales, if not more, as you did this time, right? Because your group's 1,900 people and 52 people bought. That's awesome. But that's like 1,850 people that didn't buy, right? So if you can run that 3 or 4 times a year, if that's all you did from a 1,900 person group, you got $150,000 to a $200,000 a year income stream from that. But you set it up so nicely. I don't know where you learned all this shit from, but you set it up so nicely that, even if you did a terrible job of asking, like 20% of these people will come into your next higher level thing if you were only to ask, right? And I guarantee you, if they paid $900 on the front end, they'll pay you $900 a month, right? For a year, 10 months, right? So let's just go with 20% of 50. That's 10, right? It's another 10 times 10. There's another 100 grand, right? So let's just say you run 3 of these a year, 50-ish a piece. That's 150 people, right? You put in 20% would be 30 people, right? You start adding that up, you got a $500,000 a year business from a 1,900 person Facebook group. You don't have a fucking traffic problem anymore. Again, you got kids in the room, please. Hope you got earphones on because I get excited, right?
Now, I did cheat a little bit. I used the @everyone little tag that everybody's flipping out about.
Yeah.
I never used it before, and it doesn't work. I'm seeing that it's not working for everybody and in every group. It did for mine. So that was one thing.
It's here nor there, but it's like if you show up in their feed, right? Like that's kind of the whole point of the group anyway. So I've kind of got a contrarian view on that. And again, I realize that you probably don't want to overuse it, but I don't think there's anything wrong with putting everyone in there. If people really don't want to hear from me, they're in the most loving way. I love everybody, but
I got some
if they really don't want to hear from me, then awesome.
I got some people cussing me out for it, but that was fine. It was a few.
I send out snail mail. It all goes right to their box, right? And like people do cuss me out for making lowball offers, but nobody says, "Oh my God, you showed up in my mailbox." It's just a weird thing, right? Like it is. So I don't want to get tied up on that. But dude, like that's awesome. I want to thank you for not only just taking action on this, but for being so willing to share with everybody here. So I'm gonna give you a hand. You guys want to give him a hand, high five, something like that? That's awesome, man.
I appreciate you. I was just using the Travis sauce. So
I'm going to go back to this because there's a lot of lessons here I'm going to kind of unpack a little bit as we go through here. But anybody have any breakthroughs or insights? Anybody want to share any insights or breakthroughs they had from just what Tom did there? This is my code word for I need to get a drink of water.
I'll chime in for a second if I can, Travis.
Sure, Flip.
One, I've been kind of like behind the scenes, but for those of you that don't know, I work with Jacob, who is also getting mojo happening with Travis. So learning a lot of Travis's ways that way. I've also got a couple things from Travis at this point. But Tom, it was really awesome to hear, a different industry, a different niche, going on with that. So cool stuff. I took quite a few notes on my little fancy tablet there. But a breakthrough that's happened for me from Jacob, where he learned Travis, awesome guy if you don't know Jacob, was offer creation, like how simplified it can be.
Yeah.
I've been in the affiliate space for a while and now transitioned a little bit, still doing that. But Google Docs have made me like hundreds of thousands of dollars now. We recently just ran a 14-day campaign. I put a 10-page Google Doc together, but it did over $40,000 in the 14 days.
That's
so
awesome.
Like the power of this stuff is like next level. I'm gonna do $100 one after I feel the goodwill back up in my audience because I've kind of wrecked them pretty good. But I just wanted to say it was awesome to hear from Tom, in the roofing industry, because I come from a construction background too. So well done on that, Tom. Good shit, man.
That's awesome, man. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Travis.
So I want to lay out a little bit like what I had planned. Now, sometimes, Mike Tyson says once you have a plan, like it's great until you get punched in the face, right? But the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to start out with some tactics first, right? Just give you some tactics that you can use right away. And that's usually the most favorite part of stuff. It's not my favorite part. It's cool, but the stuff that'll really make breakthroughs for you is principles. Like somebody in a comment on a YouTube video, like I thought it was cute, but they're like, "Oh, you're right-brained, right?" Which is okay, but I'm principle-brained, right? So out of the principles come strategies, and out of the strategies come tactics, right? So this is a bonus call, right? And that doesn't mean I'm not going to pour my heart out to you in the bonus call. But the main thing, right, is the 2-page Google document and selling from that. But there's things that happen before the Google document. There's things that can happen after the Google document, right? That can make it really powerful. So I wanted to talk about some of those things, right? So we're going to start with tactics, and then we'll go down deeper to like strategies and principles. Because one of the things is like, how do we, once we sell to our audience, can we use somebody else's audience, right? And so I want to kind of reveal some of that for you guys. That's a huge opportunity right now that I don't think a lot of people are seeing, and having an easier conversion mechanism like Flip was talking about. There's a reason why Google Docs work, right? I'm not saying Elon Musk should start using a Google document to sell a Tesla, right? Because it's a Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 company, right? But people want to buy from people, right? So there's something very intimate about just getting this Google document, right? It's not a web page, right? I've got a guy I saw, like he made a post, but then he's just sent him to a web page, right? I'm not saying it won't convert, right? But he's making a very personal post. He's got a very personal relationship with a lot of people, right? And he just takes them to a website again, because that's what people are used to doing, right? But you kind of lose all that intimacy. It's not like him talking to you anymore. It's like this big company starts talking to you, right? So again, I'm all about using the right tool for the right job at the right time. I believe most of life's problems come from using the wrong tool, right? It's not necessarily anything wrong with that tool. It's just you're not using it for the right job at the right time, right? And I've got some notes. This is my tool to help me make sure I don't forget some stuff. Anybody curious what my best performing subject line is? Probably of all time, but I would have to really go back to all my records and look at that. It was one word.
I was going to say final notice, but if it's one word, I don't know.
That one does really well at the end, right, of campaigns, right? And it's made me a lot of money over time, right? This is a new one, but previously it was RSVP, right? Got me lots of opens and lots of hand raisers, right? The sales could be pretty good too. This one is based on probably Final Notice probably made me more money than any other ones, but just not on it's just from a starting stop, right? It's one word. And it blew me away. Who said that?
Was it offer?
It was offer. Offer. Like I didn't capitalize it. I didn't bold. It was just offer. Right? What does that tell you? Right? The opens were great, right? I can't take opens to the bank. So I always take that with a grain of salt, right? So I'm always looking at what converts to actions that I want or sales, right? But if like all my content emails, let's say they're getting a 25% open rate, and then I send out one that says offer and I get a 40% open rate, what is that telling you?
People want to buy.
People want to buy. They may not be burned out. I don't buy into this thing. Oh, if somebody buys from you, you burn out your list. You take out all the goodwill from your list, right? They don't want to keep buying the same stuff maybe all the time, right? But people want to buy, right? Now, if your market's not a business market, right, I probably wouldn't use the word offer. What other, let's say I was wanted to, let's just use Tom's market, right? Like roofing contractors aren't marketers, right? They may not really understand the word offer, right? But what's a synonymous word, right, that could work?
Deal. Product.
What was that? Deal, D-E-A-L. I love it. Deal.
Invite.
Right? What was that, Carlos?
I was thinking invite.
That could. That's kind of like in RSVP, right? What if it was to consumers? Say it was to, let's say it was a women's accessory type. They're buying clothing and accessories. Like what might someone's probably sale. That's right. BOGO. Right. For our land stuff, we just call it a land alert, cheap land alert, right? Cheap land alert. Deal, right? If I said, I haven't tested on my land people, but I don't know if they would, and people do hear this is a special offer, right? So I haven't tested on my land people, but I would probably take the safe route, right? And just do it in languaging that they understand, right? So what you want to do is you want to look at that relative to your other subject lines, right? So if you got, the 5 best tips to getting bigger roofing deals, and you get a 20% open rate, and then you put deal, and you get a 30% open rate, like you're probably not offering enough. You're probably not selling enough. Does that make sense? You'd be surprised. We get all weird about making offers and stuff, right? Because we're like, oh, we feel like we're taking from people, rather than like, if Tom helps these guys get one relationship started that gets them an HOA job, right? He's just improved their life, right? To me, he's totally screwing people over, right? If he doesn't make that offer, right? To me, right? I'm being a little bit facetious on this to kind of make the point, right? I see people that are very, very gingerly. I recommend some tools and some affiliate tools and that kind of stuff, but I don't want to be seen as making too many pitches, right? Well, they're buying it anyways. You'd be shocked at how much stuff people are buying, right? So there's just more proof. It kind of shocked me a little bit. I mean, I thought it would do okay, right? I did it more just for transparency. I'm just like, I have no creativity today. Offer. Whoa, holy crap. Right. I did really, really good. So that's just a little tactic there I wanted to share with you. Here's another little one. Google Docs has just made some changes recently. Usually when you do Google Docs, you have all the pages, right? And if it's all text, it's not too much of a problem, right? When you start using pictures or GIFs, like it breaks in weird spots, right? And it becomes kind of a pain in the butt. They've made it now so you can go pageless, which also works a lot better on a cell phone. So all you do in your Google Doc is you click page, right? Up on or not page, but I'm glad I wrote this down. File, right? Page setup, and then pageless, right? No more pages, right? I'm not going to use it because I'm terrible at design, right? But you can have colored backgrounds if you want to, but that's like dangerous to me because I'll make it some weird ass color. Be like, what the hell, right? Because I don't know what looks good, right? But pageless is a really cool little function there. How many of you guys have, I better look at my chat. By the way, I'm terrible at multitasking. So yeah, I just see people are answering in the other chat. I'm not trying to ignore you. How many of you guys have email lists? If you have an email list on the panel, raise your left hand. Yep. if you also have a Facebook group, raise your other hand, right? If you don't have a Facebook group, yeah. Okay, so you Facebook group people, put your right hand back down now. Let's see if we do the hokey pokey. If you only have one hand raised, whether it's just a Facebook group or whether it's just an email, stop that shit. You want to combine those two. Good God, if you do that, there's unseen benefits to that. I'm going to challenge you guys. Let's say you have an email list, but no Facebook group. What are you missing out on if you only have an email list that's happening in a Facebook group?
Social proof.
Social proof, right? When you get something that goes gazonkers, right, in the group, your email people don't see that, right? That's why you see me sending emails to my Facebook group, especially the posts that do well, right? What else happens from a social media algorithmic standpoint when I send traffic to a post?
Bounces it back up. Bounces it back up. So it gets more attention, keeps getting showed to more people.
That's right. It pushes it back up, right? Facebook or wherever you're sending it to, your YouTube channel, right? If your YouTube channel gets more views and gets more likes, what do? They like, oh, people like this one, right? And they raise it up, right?
I just did this, by the way. I just did this with that post as I was telling you about. It was on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was at like 253. So I was like, here we go. Sent an email. Boom, went straight to the post. Now it's like almost 400 comments.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get the social proof of seeing, or decide, oh, I bought this, I'm in. You get all that social proof, which you cannot manufacture and buy, right? So even if it's a small group, right? Like, don't use those things separately. If you have a Facebook group, please start pulling off your Facebook group people into an email. Now, why would I want to do that? Give me some reasons why I want to pull off some of my Facebook group people or any YouTube channel, Instagram, I don't care what it is. Why would I want to pull off people from there?
In case you get shut down.
Yeah, in case I get shut down, for one, right?
You have control.
Go ahead, Jacob.
You have control. The algorithm isn't determining things for you.
Yep, you have more control. You have more chances. You get to be in. This is called proximity, right? You relationship people or Cialdini people. The more proximity that you have, right? The more persuasion you're going to have. I don't really like to use that word, right? But you got more proximity now, right? And it becomes this big flywheel, right? You send more traffic from your email to your Facebook group. Facebook sees it. I keep using Facebook group, but it doesn't matter what the social channel is, right? Then Facebook shows your group to more people, and then your group grows, right? When I'm doing a big campaign, right? Like my group starts growing even more because they're like, oh, look at all the activity going on there. And then Facebook starts showing my stuff, right? And then my list gets bigger and it becomes this flywheel, right? Effect over and over and over again, right? So to take this micro, even kind of more tactical, let's say that we don't have an email list, just for grins and giggles. Let's say we have a Facebook group post, and I don't know that I've seen anybody other than Mojo Men doing this or Mojo Women doing this, and it could be, but I don't know if I have a post that does really well. I have an asset. What I see most people do is just go abandon them. Like, oh, that was good. Awesome. What are some other ways we could get some use out of that post that did really well for us? Whether it got us hand raisers or people just really liked it or you made sales. What are some other things that we could do with it?
Send it in an email.
Okay. We're pretending right now in this scenario, we don't have an email list just to kind of constrict me. Yes, that would be one of the things, right? But let's say we don't have an email list. What's some other things that we could do? Go ahead, honey.
Screenshot it and reuse it.
We can make new posts and redirect the traffic to the original post.
That's right. I call that an anchor post. And again, this is kind of where it's my inner Jabba the Hutt, right? Saying, ooh, how can I get a result? Putting in as little effort as possible. And really what I'm doing is I'm like, what's already worked and how can I get more use out of it? Right. I don't want to get too deep into wealth philosophy and stuff like that, but utilization is one of the most of us aren't utilizing the stuff that we have anywhere near to its extent, right? So if you have a post that's done well, create other posts and use the link going back to that post, right? Like if you get a post that did really well, I call it an anchor post, right? Especially if it's a purchase post, we'd be like, oh, I'm in, paid, right? Oh my God, this is great. No brainer offer, right? Why create a completely new post, right? Why not create a post? So we did no brainer campaign, right? Like, hey, did you see this? Right? And arrows pointing down, like that'll make more money, right? With like one or two words, right? And just reusing that anchor post or coming up with a different angle on it, right? And reusing that same post. Does that make sense, everybody? I see some confused faces. I don't know if you're writing or if I'm confusing you. These are some of the easiest ways to get more engagement, get more action, make some more money, right? Yeah, again, I don't see anybody but other than Mojo men and Mojo women doing this, right? What's something else that you could do? It'll take you literally like 2 seconds to do. If you get a post that starts rocking and rolling from it for you, what's something you could do?
Post it in your other group.
If you have another group, there you go. I like it. I like that. Yeah, you can post it in your other group. You can cross pollinate, right? That'll take more than 1 second though. This is like literally a 1 second thing that you can do. It's like you log in, you say, holy crap, like this is going gazonkers, right? It'll literally take you 1 second. I better
share it to your wall.
Somebody said it. What was it, Carlos?
Share it to your own wall. Share it to your personal feed or whatever. Outside the group.
Okay. I mean, that works if this is even easier. I don't see anybody doing it.
Say thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. That's great. It's even simpler than that.
Ask people to share it.
Simpler. All these are great ideas. I'm just letting you guys are giving great ideas. So these aren't wrong answers, right?
This is hilarious. I don't know.
Did you say pin it yet?
Pin! You pin that motherfucker! Right? What do you think happens? Like, this is like the best of, right? I call this the Netflix wall. I wish I was just smart enough. I could just say, Travis, come up with a post that everybody will love and you'll make you lots of money. And I could just go, guys, that ain't the way it works for me. Right? Like, it may be 5 posts or 10 posts, right? And I'll get on base, right? Some of them will strike out. Some are like, ooh, here's a single. single, double, right? But when I hit a home run, right, woo! It doesn't always have to be for money too. It could just be like, hey, it gets a insight across I'm trying to do, right? I'm going to pin that thing. But what do you think happens when a new member comes in to your group and he sees these pin posts? And this is like the best, this is like your best of, right? Whew, right? And I actually see it. And I'm sure if you guys had a group, you guys probably seen some of it too, right? But you get a brand new member come in, right? Oh, Jimmy Buffett joined my group. Whew, want to be the same one from Margaritaville, right? All of a sudden, Jimmy Buffett, like you open up your phone and say like 26 notifications. You're like, what the hell's going on there? And Jimmy Buffett has gone in there and like 26 of your posts and commented. What you're seeing there is traffic going from cold to warm. It's like the Netflix wall, right? Netflix knows, like, if they can't get you hooked in the first 2 episodes, right, you're probably not going to keep on watching, right? But the first thing it does is, like, if you got a home run, right, boom, it gets put up in that featured post, then all the traffic's going to come see that, right? It's like 1 second. Pin. Or I call it, they keep changing the name of it now, feature. Right? Now you can move your featured posts around, right, which is really awesome, right? So that's the little 1 second thing that you can do. By the way, everybody's suggestion here is really awesome. So I probably should just let you keep going, because like we were getting really great ways to reutilize stuff, right? Does that make sense? So just in the tactics now, I want to make sure you guys are getting your 99 bucks worth if you spent 99 bucks on this, right? Just in the tactics, right? You got in the bonuses, you got the offer, right? Or sale, or those kind of things. Like you're going to make a lot of money on that. If you're only using email, or you're only using YouTube, or you're only using like you don't want one. That's terrible. It's terrible for your pocketbook, for your engagement, right? If you got YouTube channel, that's awesome. Pull those people over into email, right? I'd even say put them in a Facebook group too, right? Like what I call cloning assets, right? We're just cloning assets there, right? The more you clone, it's not 1 + 1 = 2, right? If you send out an email and it makes you $5,000, you can get that same thing going on your Facebook group. You're not just going to add another $5,000 to it. It'd be like $15,000, right? You start getting those things, and then it starts to grow from there, right? So it becomes exponential from there. So I'm going to go into a little bit deeper stuff here. I'm through the really, really simple tactics. So we're going to start going a little bit deeper. Any questions so far on the really simple tactics? Anything not clear? By the way, I don't want to blow your brains up, but most people that run a YouTube channel or Instagram or Facebook groups aren't doing this, right? You could easily say, hey, if you need a side gig or something like that, right? Or they're going to be your perfect partner later on. It's be, hey, I can build an email list, right? Nobody wants the email list, but I can help you get more engagement, more subscribers, insurance in case YouTube bans you, right? Just a little side note there. Almost nobody's doing this, right? And when you couple in a Google document with it, you can be selling their own product, right? Or your own product too. We're going to talk about a little bit, right? To their audience. But almost nobody's doing this. Most of the people on Instagram don't have email lists. They all kind of know, like, ooh, they're scared, right? Like, ooh, I don't want to get canceled. I don't want to get deplatformed, right? But who's got the time to do all that? stuff, right? So if you're really digging that, it's something you can do.
And that's the other thing that makes that piece of it very interesting is that because I've had some discussions with some guys that do influencer marketing lately about that process in particular, and they don't understand it. First of all, you said you want to move your people off the list, and Travis Stevenson over at Chatmatic does a good job with this. But I said, who do you think, everything else equal, who do you think the big vendors out there and sponsors want to work with? Someone who has the same amount of followers, gets an 8 to 10% reach, has same engagement, or if one guy has actually moved them over to a list and can reach out to them on demand or push people back to the post, who are they going to want to work with?
Yeah.
Everything else being equal.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you see light bulbs coming on. So I think you bring up a great point there in your post about all the influencers out there that need this type of thing. I think it's brilliant, especially when you tie it into the 2-page Google Doc, because not only their offers, but you can help them find other affiliate offers and all, and just build an entire business with them and just ask for a piece of it.
I think you're totally right. Strategically, right? That's the bigger benefit. I think tactically, and most people are tactical. Like, so I usually try to present tactics first, but what if you could drive another 500,000 people to your YouTube, right? Because what they're interested in is, how do I get more likes and how do I get more subscribers, right? So I can get, right? So tactically say, hey, if we took some of these people and had an email every time you made a post or on your important post, we could drive more traffic over to it, right? But you're right. Strategically, it's a deeper benefit, right? But it's kind of like that thing Tom was talking about. Hey, let's not worry about getting you $1 million HOA deal. Let's get you talking to one right partner, right? So it's very, very tactical. I call it the tactical front door to bring him into your strategic living room, right? Like, you want to have that tactical thing.
Right. Exactly. Like Tony was talking about.
Yep.
He just sent out one post and took his responses up to 400 comments and all. That's the type of thing they're interested in.
Yeah. So I want to talk about this for a length of time. How we doing, guys? Like, is this good for you guys? Like, we're going to go a little bit deeper here, which I think is more powerful, right? But it's more principle and strategy based. But this is actually a question from somebody who couldn't be here today. ZOE. I think it's Zoe. I'm not 100% sure. And this is a great question, and it's really a crux of what I want to get across today. The question is, with a 2-page Google document with a low ticket offer, how important is it to pre-sell before putting this offer out there? And if it's important, does Travis recommend a specific pre-sell strategy, number of posts, Facebook Lives, or is this only for super warm leads who already know, like, and trust you? Thank you. I really appreciate it and can't wait to watch the replay. Anybody else have that question? Like, how much pre-selling y'all gonna need, right? So here's my answer. It depends. Right? But in that answer is like where a lot of breakthroughs and genius lies. So we've kind of talked around this a little bit, right? We want to make sure we're using the right tool for the right job at the right time. So I'm probably going to step on your toes a little bit here, doing my uncomfortable dance or drive you up on the curb, but I think we're going to get you there. But so I want to answer this question in depth. And by the way, like, this insight or understanding the map and the terrain, right? Not the tool, right? So people get so hung up because the 2-page Google document is a tool, right? But we get too hung up on tools and we don't look at the terrain. What the hell are you talking about, Travis, right? So what's better, a putter or a 9-iron or a sand wedge? Which one's better? It depends, right? But people, because if I sell putters and Flip sells sand wedges, like, we'll be like, oh, my putter is better than the sand wedge, right? And he's like, oh, my sand, don't use a putter, like, you want to use sand wedge. right? It's the same stuff that goes on in our marketing space. Like, oh man, like you got to use the phone. Nobody gonna buy your stuff unless you use the phone. Yeah. Oh man, like you got to use webinar. Oh man, you got to be using the TikTok. Oh man. And these are all tools and tactics. So we have to look underneath what we're doing to use the appropriate tool and to know when's not the appropriate tool and what to change, right? So let me try to use this metaphor for you. How many of you guys have been to a putt-putt golf course? Awesome. So on a putt-putt golf course, for you guys have never been to a putt-putt golf course, they have all these weird different holes. It's not particularly hard, right? But the hard ones, like what's the hardest ones? The hard ones are the ones that, at least I think, is like you got flat ground, but then it goes up to like this cone shape thing, right? Then at the very top of the cones, you got a little bit of area, and then it falls down to the other part, and you got the little tiny hole up at the top, right? And so those are hard because if you hit it too soft, it just goes up and it comes back down, right? You're way far away. If you hit it too hard, right, it goes over the top, right? And it takes a very talented, experienced person to even get that golf ball in that hole. Eric, this would be something I would love for you to draw out for me one day. It takes a very talented salesperson to take an offer that is slanted like that and get the prospect, which is the golf ball, into the hole, right? And we put all the focus on how awesome this salesperson's got to be. And we chastise them and we beat them up if they can't put that golf ball in that hole like 1 out of 4 times, right? And our whole business is dragged down. And we think the way out of it is to hire better and better salespeople, or have longer and longer webinars, or have more and more stuff, right? Where if this thing is our offer, and we were really thinking outside of the box, why wouldn't we redesign or change or just build another hole over here, right? It would be easier. Maybe now, obviously, like we can make this whole no golf course would have this, right? But what if we made the green part of it concave like a bowl, right? And then we put the hole, instead of having I don't know how big a regulation golf hole is. What if we made it a manhole size cover? Right? Then would we need the world's best salespeople? Will we need all the drama and everything to, like, it would be easy, right? Like we couldn't miss, right? So obviously there's no golf courses like that, but we want to get our offers as close to that as possible, right? And we have a lot of flexibility here because we're doing like $99 to $999 things, right? How hard or easy, on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me how successful you think this would be in 2 pages. Buy my thing, and I'm going to help you lose 20 pounds. What do you think your odds of success are going to be selling that with a 2-page Google document on a scale of 1 to 10, right?
2.
2. 1. And you guys seen those offered with the long ass VSLs? That's what they're trying to do, right? They're just like, hey, if you buy this ebook for $47, we're going to help you lose, we're going to help you go from, I don't know, I got to be careful. you're going to look like you did back in high school, right? And then they wonder why they can get 60-minute VSL to convert like 2% of the people. Does that make sense? So we want to look at the terrain. When I say terrain, like the map is not the terrain, right? Like you can look at a map of Mount Everest and say, or like, let's see this. You can see those globes with the relief, like they got bumps where the mountains are and shit, right? You get a globe and you look at Tibet or you look at the Mount Everest and like, oh, that would be a cinch to climb. Right? Until you're there, right? So the map is not the terrain either, but like we want to be focused on it. What are we trying to accomplish in what amount of time, right? So I just come up with this on the fly. So, but just to show you the difference there, if we pull out the buying frenzy offer tool, right? And we just find one or two things that might be things that they want to get off of their to-do list, or it's a concern for them that we can help them cross off the list. What if we said something like this? Shopping for healthy foods is expensive and time consuming. Here's how I get all my shopping done for a family of 4 done in 1 hour, cut $200 a month off my food bill, and I lost 12 pounds over the summer. What do you think the odds are? Better or worse for selling that with a 2-page Google document?
Much better.
Much better, right? And probably like if you already have a $5,000 course about helping people lose weight, you probably have modules in there that you could pull out, or little things in there, a toolkit, right? Tom Curtis's toolkit, right? That you could pull out and put in the Google Doc. It'd be a no-brainer at $99 to $999, right? And I'm just using those. It doesn't have to be those numbers, right? Like it just depends on your market. But to answer her question more intelligently than it depends, wrote down this really smart line. Now I gotta find it. Oh, here we go. So, and I've shared this with a lot of people, but you never want to pitch until you've pre-sold the plan. I'm going to talk about this a little bit in more depth, right? But the longer, harder, more time-intensive the plan is, the longer we're going to need to pre-sell the plan. So let me back this up a little bit. If we have a problem, we are using some type of plan right now, and there's for some reason it's not working. There's a cost of changing that plan. That's going to be buying our product or program, right? It's not necessarily just the money cost. People get too hung up on the money. How hard is it to go on a diet and lose 20 pounds, right? There's a lot of things that go into that. And so they may be able to buy into that plan over time, right? But it's a long range plan. So we want to shrink that plan up. When we do shrink that plan up, we make our offer easier to say yes to, right? It's like Tom did, right? He didn't say, hey, I'm going to show you how to take your small roofing companies. You see this all the time in internet marketing. I'm going to show you how to scale Like if you're doing 6 figures, I'm going to show you how to scale to 7 figures. Does that sound like a, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with long-term plans. I'm just showing you guys how to, again, like if you're 50 yards away from the hole, you'd be using a driver. Does that make sense? Right? That's not what Tom did. You didn't say, let me help you scale your roofing company to 8 figures, right? And even if he would put a $900 price tag on that, it wouldn't have sold as well as what he did because it wasn't about the price. What he did so well is he came up with a smaller plan that didn't look like a damn anthill golf green. So hard. He just made the plan simple, right? It sounds like surface level stuff, but these principles can run really, really deep, right? And we're going to go even deeper on this, but let me kind of junior high this out a little bit. I call this Santa Claus content or Rudolph content, whatever way you want to look at it, right? This is a great, great framework for thinking about your offers and your copy, right? Just for anybody that needs some memory jogging or not in the United States, Rudolph was this adorable reindeer. If you ever saw him and saw his nose, you would say it glows, right? Because it was red and it glowed all the time, right? Or it'd start glowing, right? But that was a real problem for Rudolph. Why? Because all the reindeer didn't have that. So it was different. And they laughed at him and they called him names. And Rudolph had a plan to get over this. Does anybody know what his plan? If anyone watched the movie, what was his plan? How do I handle this problem? What's his current? I call this the current plan.
Cover his nose.
To cover his nose, right? And in the movie, he covered it with mud, which wasn't exactly easy, right? Like you had to go find this mud hole or make the mud hole, and you got hoofs, right? So it's not really easy. Like I've never been a deer, but I'd have to imagine it's probably not that easy to like put your nose in the mud and then like pack it on, right? And then in the movie, he's talking all weird, like, "Hi, my name's Rudolph," right? Because he's got his nose all plugged up and he can't breathe very well. But he's willing to go through all of that if the dang reindeer would just play with him and stop calling him reindeer or stop calling him names. But what happens? What happens instead? Does anybody watch the movie or remember the movie? He goes out, he tries this plan out, right? He's got all this mud caked on his nose. He starts playing, but what happens? The mud falls off. And then what happens? All the reindeer start laughing at him even harder. This is the cost. This is what I say, pre-sell the price, right? So all the time and the energy and the hassle of packing that mud on his nose to hide it for a little while, all the fear and worry about when is this going to fall off? Are they all going to laugh at me some more? Right? These are all what I call fears, uncertainties, and doubts about his current plan. Y'all know what happened next, right? One foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, and I'm going to change the wording here a little bit, right? Rudolph, your real problem isn't your nose. And he gives him a new plan. He doesn't say it, they don't say it this way, and right? Instead of like hiding your nose, why don't we use your nose? It's a simple, simple plan that's easier than what he's already doing. It's usually, how would we do it, Santa? Well, it's foggy, right? With that nose, you know what we could do? We could have you guide my sleigh. We could save Christmas for billions of little boys and little girls. Right? So if you're selling for a partner or a client, your partner or client's always going to be, or the company's going to be Santa Claus. Right? I see people, they try to become Rudolph. They try to become the hero in the story. You don't want that. You want your client or customer to be the hero, but Santa is the mentor, right? That comes in with a simpler plan, right? It can be obvious or it can be non-obvious, but it's a simple plan. Key here is that the plan is short, right? The shorter the plan is, the less pre-selling that you will need. Matter of fact, you can probably do the pre-selling right in the post where you invite them, or inside of the 2-page, 4-page Google Doc, right? Now, what if Santa would have come and say, you know what? Here's how to get them to all stop laughing at you. I'm going to put you on a year-long workout program, and we're going to make you the fastest reindeer that ever lived. Am I saying that Santa couldn't have sold that? He probably could have. But Santa would never be able to do that in a 2-page fucking Google document. I guarantee you. Because it sounds harder than his current plan is right now. So when you're looking at your offer, right, is the plan that I'm giving them, and product isn't a plan. Like, you know, hey, I'm going to give you 2 Zoom calls and blah, 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 blah. That's not the plan, right? The plan is like, here's what you think the problem has been, right? But here's the real problem. If we do this, then it's going to fix that thing. Or you have this issue, right? Like shopping for healthy food, super expensive, and it takes a long time, right? But I figured out how to get free coupon codes, right, every month. And I can just go grab these off of Amazon. I'll show you how to do it too, right? I'm just making up some bullshit right there, right? But that's a simple, your plan. You just go to Kroger, right? And you hope the things that you need are on sale. Maybe you clip some coupons, but it's still expensive, right? So you would give them another plan that sounds simpler than the plan that they're currently using, right? It's going to shorten the distance. Does that make sense? So it's the plan. I'm not saying that a long plan is a bad plan, right? People always humans like to attach bad and good. I'm not saying that a long plan is a bad plan, right? It's just a long plan, right? The ball 500 yards from the hole isn't bad. It just is what it is. You just want to use the right tools for the job. Does that make sense? Do you see why I'm saying it depends, right? Does a 2-page Google document seem easier than writing an hour-long VSL? Or easier than doing a 3-day challenge? Or for some of us, easier than doing a live? Like I do some lives now and then, but I'm terrible. That's why I do more writing than video, right? Or even tapping, right? You guys, for me, we're just closing them by DMs, right? I'm always trying to beat my own butt, right? Like Mark Cuban says, always gonna be trying to kick your own ass, right? So I notice about my people like, yeah, I did real good, did $100,000 this month tapping, but woof, tapping in those $10,000 sales. Like I sure wish I could have an easier way to do it, right? right? Those kind of things, right? So I'm always like, okay, how can we do this without the tapping in? Understanding the terrain, not the tool, right? But understanding the terrain, using the right tool for the right job, right, is key. Because here's the thing, like, if you're doing this for yourself or other people, there's people that are already close to the hole, right? They're going to come in if you just were only to ask them, and you didn't make them run through all that drama, right? It's like right now, like if you've been doing this for any amount of time at all, say you've been doing this for 2 years, people will probably buy a 5K program from you off a 2-page, 4-page Google document. You just don't need all that. Even if your plan's longer, right? Because they're already close to the hole, right? So I don't want to confuse you guys, but the plan, your new plan, and every offer, whether I don't care if it's a physical product, we're going to talk about a physical product thing here in a minute, or a digital product, or anything. What is the plan that you're proposing, and how are they weighing that compared to the current plan that they have, right? Which may be doing nothing, right? Does that make sense? Any questions on that? What do you want to talk about, or just put an offer out there that they're thinking about putting into a 2-page Google document? I want to brainstorm it a little bit.
I've got a question as I'm thinking about a pitch that I made like 2 hours ago. But it doesn't have the Google document part, but just the fact of what you're saying of selling the plan first. I'm like, is it plan and then the price of it, get the buy-in first, and then kind of present it? Just curious about just clarifying that order, because I just emailed the guy. I was like, okay, I already got the buy-in loosely, but he had no idea what the plan is or the price, and I threw it all out there. Like, maybe I should have. Here's the plan. Is that all that you want? And compare. Yeah, just curious of any other details on that structure.
Yeah. So the 5 Ps are pain. I think of it as a sandwich, right? The 2 bread pieces, you have the top bread and the bottom breads, right? Like the top bread is pain or problem. The bottom bread is the price. The meat, sorry, vegans, right? Whatever, your tofu or whatever, right? That is the plan. And then the condiments and the veggies is personality and philosophy. So, like, you can't really have a sandwich without the meat, right? So the meat is like the most important part. The plan is the most important part, right? If they can see like, ooh, like, yeah, here's why my plan's not working. This plan seems, I'm not saying your plan always has to be simpler and easier than what they're doing, right? It doesn't always have to be the case. I'm just saying for shorter sales cycles, right? Change the offer up or change the way you're presenting the offer, right? So you can say, oh, well, you have this problem, Rudolph. Like, none of the reindeer will play with you, right? They're all laughing, calling you names. You go out every morning and you pack your nose in mud. You can't breathe very well, right? You got to go off and hide somewhere to repack it, right? And then when it does fall off, they'll laugh at you more, and you can never play with those reindeers again, right? That's only in context for him to see that his plan's not working out to him. But even talking about that, start showing the bottom piece of the bread, which is the price, right? There's a cost to all of that. Does that make sense? Now, the way we tell it, that's kind of like personality in our philosophy, right? You don't have to, I'm not saying you can't have a sandwich without mustard and mayonnaise and everything, but sometimes it's kind of dry, right? But the meat is the most important part. The plan is the most important part, right? And that's where they got to have their epiphany or their breakthrough. And that's why I like to use metaphors, analogies, and stories. It's the fastest way to the reptilian brain to get them to get it. So if somebody reaches out to me, right, let's say I didn't know who they were, like, hey, I heard you're pretty good at this high ticket stuff, right? You know, I'm like, well, sometimes I have my good days and sometimes they're bad days. Like, tell me what outcome are you looking for? You can start it either way. What I'm looking for is what pain do they have right now? Then I'm going to move to how are they trying to solve it, right? Then I'm going to usually have a statement like, oh, well, you're not alone. A lot of people try to solve it that way. Here's what we found, right? And I'll present a new plan to them. Does that make sense? And if I don't get buy-in to that new plan, right, I'm probably not going to get them to buy my thing, right? If Rudolph says, you know what, Santa, I don't have a year and I don't want to run through all the calisthenics to become the, you know, he's probably not going to buy Santa's product, if that makes sense, right? So the meat is the most important part, right? And it's the most forgotten. Like in so much of the marketing that I see, nobody talks about that hardly. They're just like, they'll have lots of personality out there, right? Which is like slobbering a lot of mayonnaise on a sandwich. I'm not saying some of it's not good, right? But like, who wants to eat 2 pieces of bread with Miracle Whip in the middle, right? Like if you're really, really, really hungry, right? Like you might do that, right? You know, but they don't really talk about like, hey, here's where you're at. Here's the plan that you've been using, or here's a plan that people use, right? That's kind of why, again, like I talk in metaphors, right? I talk about that offer being like an anthill, right? People get that. I said, what if we made our offer like a bowl shape with a manhole, right? Oh, they can start seeing where their problem is, right? Of course, this is why it's hard for me to make sales, right? Because I got to hire salespeople that are really, really awesome all the time because it's so hard. My thing's so hard for them to say yes. Does that make sense?
So your 2-page Google Doc has all those parts in it. The structure would have it. If you're not having a conversation, it should have all that, all those 5 Ps in the one document.
Well, what I'm trying to get across is not to make it so long, right? Figure out a smaller thing, right? Like people come to phone the sales machine, right? All I've done is taken the buying frenzy offer tool, and I know that they're sick of being on the phone all the time. If I can just help them get off a few phone calls, right? I don't try to come and say, hey, let's make you 6 figures a month. But a lot of my guys come in and make 6 figures a month, right? But that's not their problem. Like, man, I'm just on these calls all the time, and I don't really want to hire a salesperson because that's like herding cats, right? And I tried that before, right? And all those different plans that they have. Does that make sense? So I'm not necessarily saying they need to all be in that document. You can pre-sell them in your posts, right? If you look at my personal profile, I'm pre-selling all the time, even though I don't have offers in there. I've got personality posts, philosophy posts. I talk about my plan, right? And even without offers, people will reach out to me and they're like, dude, I think you can help me, right? I talk about the price of, I don't say, here's my thing. And you can say that, like, hey, I don't mind saying, like, Mojo Mastermind's 48 grand a year, right? I try to get that out there as much as possible, right? So it gives context to everything else I'm doing. And plus we can take bites out of that elephant, if that makes sense, right? So you can do it in other places. What I'm trying to get you guys to see, that if you want to do a $99 to $999 thing, right here, is like micro it down, get it down to that 1 or 2 things they can just cross off their to-do list or cross off their worry list, right? Rather than saying, hey, I'm going to help you lose 20 pounds, right? It doesn't matter what it costs. I'm going to help you lose 20 pounds for a nickel. Yeah, but I'm not saying that people won't. Does it make sense? If I said, hey, I've totally figured out how to save $200 a month on my food bill, right? And I get all my shopping done for 4 kids in an hour, right? And it's way more healthy for me. I've lost 12 pounds this summer, right? That's way more compelling because they're like, oh, especially with inflation and all that kind of stuff going on right now, right? Way more probable, right? It could be a 2-liner plan as long as it makes sense to them, right? I figured out how to get coupon codes on the net. I know exactly what to search for, and I get coupon codes, right? How many people know how to search and get coupon codes? I don't. I mean, maybe some people do, right? So I'm making up bullshit there, right? But like, does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Awesome. I'm going to rapid fire some of these, and I want to do the bonus to the bonus, which is tapping into all this influencer traffic that's out there right now. Like, there's no reason. Like, once you get this working on your own audience, right? Oh, I just saw a bunch of. No, I don't know what happened. Oh, the hands went down. Like, Eric, so I saw your hand up. Did you have a question?
So I was just going to see if I can simplify it. I just got off a call with a private equity firm who's buying HVAC businesses and plumbing businesses, and he had responded to my little hand raiser around a 1-page direct mail letter that has sealed the deal for $100 million with here it is, and the lead source, the whole breakdown, how it turned. And so he's like, hey, yes, hell yes, will you do my outreach for me? Will you do my direct mail for me? Will you do all this stuff? I'm like, yes, maybe. And he's like, look, I'll pay you $10,000 for every one of these bird dog deals you find me. And I'm
that's
like,
awesome. And you start out with, hey, I'll give you a letter.
Right.
That's right.
And I realized that like I posted on Facebook, but I posted on LinkedIn, and all these other private equity M&A guys, all this stuff, they continue to compound, like keep getting, like all these people keep DMing, like just complete insanity.
That's great.
So I'm like, well, I could really probably sell this letter, maybe. But he's like, will you just run my direct marketing for me? Like just straight up. And I was just like, I need to really shrink this thing down. And so I'm just trying to figure out maybe helping them clarify, or anybody clarify their acquisition criteria, or I don't know. That's what I'm trying to do. How do I shrink this thing?
I would break down the steps and then propose a first date, right? So, hey, I have the letter, right? Do you already have a database that you want to send? It might be the next step, right?
Right. He's got 1,900
people. So that might be the next thing. So the first thing we do is source the right database for you. I'm just making up bullshit, right? Source the right database for you. Then we'll run a test to 1,000 people, and let's see where that goes, and then we can take it from there, right? So you want to be gracious and say, oh, I love what you're thinking in the future, right? But then dial it back, just like if you met somebody for coffee and they're like, oh my God, I've been looking for you all my life. Like, do you want to have kids? Like, where can we start getting married? You're gonna be flattered, but you still want to dial it back to more a sane level, right? We always want sanity, right? Sanity. We want people to make decisions from a sane standpoint, right? So this is old Sandler stuff, right? If they're really excited, we want to bring them back down to neutral. If they're negative, right, we become more negative than they are, right? And see if we can get down to a neutral spot, right? But that's what I would do. But boom, like you got it. Like that's perfect, right? Like, hey, what do you guys need? You guys sending out letters? Yeah. How's your response rate? No, not very good, right? I got letters. That's it, right? It's like, oh, I'd be totally interested. And I've sold like 3 emails for like $10,000, right? Like, so that's a great, very concave offer, right? It's not like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to write a letter, right? Or whatever, right? But it's perfect. It goes with what I'm trying to say here too, is like, once that goes well, then they're going to want you to do more. And he's even seeing it beyond that point, right? But that's what I would do. I'd just figure out what would make a good first date, right? And say, let's run this first, and then we can take it from there.
Cool. Thanks. This helps me. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. Kevin, what you got, man?
Hey, Travis. So I just wanted to clarify this. You might have answered this, but when we're talking about shortening the plan, are we talking about in the context of just selling a $99 to $999 product and breaking off a piece of a larger product? Or could I shorten the plan to already high ticket offer? For example, instead of saying, we'll turn you from someone who doesn't know about trading into a profitable systematic trader, instead shortening the plan to, we'll turn you from someone who doesn't know anything about trading to having your first trading system up and running and live in the market. Does that apply to that as well? Or are we talking about just in the context of this 2-page Google Doc to sell $99 to $999 products?
Yeah. So I've been in this market and this has worked really, really, really well. So most people do that. Like, hey, we're gonna make you a pro trader, right? And that's fine. I'm not saying you can't. And I'd probably leave that alone, right? But I try to find that's strategic and principles, right? I'd try to find a tactical front door in there. I think it would make more sense. So instead of saying, hey, trade everything, this is what's worked really, really well. You be more specific and finger pointy about it. Like this was his best. I haven't talked to him in a while, but like he did penny stocks. Right? I'm going to show you how to do great in penny stocks, right? And we did all kinds of, we slice and dice up to biotech, right? And that kind of worked well. Because people wanted to work in biotech. We found pet biotech worked super well. But here's the thing that totally crushed it for him. He called it his Fed minutes plan, right? Because most of these guys aren't professional traders. They just want to make a few dollars a month, right? So he said, hey, once I can't remember how often they make the Fed minutes, but the Fed gives their announcement they're going to lower or raise interest rates. And all he did was place straddles, right, on one of the indexes, right? But it was easy. Like it's a 20-minute trade a month, right? Or 30-minute trade a month. That crushed it for him. Instead of trying to make him traders, like, hey, here's a specific trade that we make. It takes 20 minutes a month. Would you like that? I think he sold it for like somewhere between $500 and $900, right? On that, right? Just crushed it for him, right? Because again, it's a very, it seems a lot easier than what I'm doing here, right? Here's another thing revelation that we made, and I'm not sure that it would apply to your people, but I wouldn't discount it. We polled people, I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but these were all people that said that they wanted to trade, right? Just take a rough guess of the percentage that actually even had trading accounts opened up.
I feel like a lot of people do have trading accounts, they just don't use them, or it might be the opposite.
Well, what we found is almost 50% of those people, roughly, I can't remember the exact percentage, never had opened up a trading account. And if they did, he did a lot of options. They weren't options qualified. It was big and scary to them, right? So we just said, hey, like your first part of your content, just help them open up an account and get option qualified, right? And as soon as they did that, I call this the fans and fortunes formula, right? You give them something easy they can do in like 10 or 15 minutes that moves them forward, right? Now that they finally have an account open and they're finally options approved, now they're more motivated to make a trade, which you found it would make more of those things, right? So there's a guy right now who's crushing it. As far as I know, all he does is show people how to trade oil, just oil. That one thing. There's some people that just showing how to trade one stock, right? So I don't know if that would lend well, but instead of being like a super trader, right, where would the campaign or the kit or the one thing that they could trade that they'd be interested, like you could show them, right? That would make it great, like 99 to 999 product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense for like breaking off a piece before leading into the higher ticket one. But if I wanted to reposition the current high ticket positioning on the promise itself, does it make sense to shorten the plan as well? Will that still apply to that?
So the way I do that is like if you're going to sell them on a marriage, right? Here's the way to do it without fundamentally changing everything. This took me a long time to figure out, right? So you don't try to sell them 3 years down the road on the marriage, right? You sell them the honeymoon, right? So even if you lay out a longer plan, like in Mojo Mastermind, like I show people how to tap in some easy sales, right? And then the real challenge they have is they don't have recurring income coming in every month. They make some sales, but don't have any recurring income, right? But I don't just say, hey, let's fix your recurring income over the year. I mean, I do. That's our overall plan, fix your recurring income over the year. Here's our immediate plan. We're going to take your past customers, right? Whether that's 10, 100, or 1,000. I'm going to show you how to put them in a recurring income program, right? This is just off the top of my head, but I'm thinking of a girl right now. She had like 700 people that have bought a $6,000 thing, right? She had a $15,000 thing. I'm like, how many people are in that? She's like, I can't remember what the numbers are. So I'm kind of pulling this out of my butt, but it wasn't that many, like 8. So you got 700 people that bought the $6,000 thing. You got 8 people in your $15,000 thing. Here would be the first thing that we would do. We would take some of those people that you already sold to, and we're just going to put them into your $15,000 thing. How does that sound? Oh, that sounds glorious, right? That's the honeymoon, right? That's the honeymoon period. So figure out what you can focus on first, right? Everybody loves the honeymoon, right? So you focus on that honeymoon first, right? And then you want to get them that result at the beginning of the honeymoon period. There's going to be that result in the honeymoon period. Like people come into Mojo, even though it's $48,000 a year, like most people make that back in the first month or 2 months, all of it, right? And I've got on a payment program. Sometimes they make that back in a campaign. This girl I'm talking about here, she put like 10 people in at $15,000 right away, right? It's like $150,000, tripled the investment. Does that make sense? So I try to focus on what is the result that I can get them in that first month or 2 months or whatever that period is, right? And then I just focus them on that, even though there's the rest of it is there, right? So if like you're showing the whole trading thing, right? You could still have a fast action or a fast start bonus. Like, hey, we're going to show you how to become world-class traders, but here's the first thing. I'm going to show you how to just trade the Fed minutes, right? And make money off the Fed minutes, 20 minutes a month. That's going to be like your training wheels, right? And then we're going to go on and do other stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. That might require me to talk to them to reposition some of their stuff, because right now it's literally from nobody to full-time trader. And
yeah, usually here's what I see a lot of the time, even in front ends. Like if it's a 6-week course, it can really be a 6-year-long course. Right. Yeah. Usually module 1 and module 2 can make the whole course, right? Just to give you, I won't say who the market was, but this is a market for people that have brick and mortars that help people, right? And he's showing people how to go from hourly to packages, right? And module 1, how to package your thing from hourly into $4,000 packages, right? I'm like, okay, so far so good. Module 2, here's how to sell it to the people that are already warm on your customer list, right? I'm like, oh, that's your whole course. But that didn't stop there. It was just like a 6-week course. Module 3, how to run AdWords ads. Module 4, how to run Facebook ads. Module 5, how to, like, dude, like, and so now they get what I call the smorgasbord effect. Like you're just forcing their head to keep eating. Right? Does that make sense? So if they come in, they get that result right away, right? In like your front end, right? Or if you have a year-long thing, you focus there, then they're going to be more likely to get through. If you have that first success, right? Then it's more likely to carry them through the rest of that part.
Gotcha. No, I appreciate you. That makes sense.
It took me a long time to figure it out. It made me a lot of money once I did. And lots happier customers. And we don't, our plan is like to give as much as we can. So we have big hearts. So we just try to give them everything, right? I'm guilty of that too. I got to like go prune back stuff sometimes and do these kind of things, right? But the key thing is like whatever that period is, I got to get that result really quick. Awesome. We can swing back for some more questions. I didn't want to like do the bonus of the bonus here. But I wanted to do this in a way where you guys would realize what's happening if we can, because sometimes it's not always so like once I tell you it's going to seem obvious, but it's not obvious before then, right? This is a huge opportunity. If you have any type of sales mechanism, I don't care what the sales mechanism is, but especially like something really, really simple to insert, like a Google document somewhere, right? That makes you a lot of money, and you're out of your traffic. Like there's so much influencer traffic out there right now. So many people. I was just looking at, there's like 50 million people that consider themselves to be a content creator now, right? I was doing some research. I was too lazy to actually put the data here, right? These are all people that have little micro, or they're calling them nano, right? They might have like 1,000 people that are following them. Those 1,000 people are like super powerful because it's very close and very, very intimate, right? But these are so many influencers out there, right? That like, I'm not saying not to buy Google ads or not to buy Facebook ads, right? But what do you get if like you have an influencer that people really follow her and love on her shopping thrift? Maybe she's just a thrifty shopper, right? Maybe she's only got 1,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel, but she gets crazy engagement, right? Or you can just buy a YouTube ad. What are you going to get with her that you don't get with the YouTube ad?
Influence.
Relationship, yeah.
Credibility.
That's it. You get the halo effect, right? Like this is not new stuff, right? This back in Ugg the caveman, right? Like there's the tribal elder. If Ugg could get like the tribal elders, like okay, like life was so much better, right? So there's all these influencers out there. Some of them are nano, some of them are micro, some of them have big audiences, right? We can drive all the traffic that we want and get their endorsement. Would you rather have 100 clicks from a Facebook ad or 10 clicks coming from somebody that likes, knows, trusts, completely buys into everything this person says, right? Like you're gonna do so much better on that, right? Does that make sense to you guys? I'm kind of being my old Columbo self and kind of bumbling around this point I'm trying to make. Go ahead, Fabricio.
Yeah. Hey, how are you? I have a question. I mean, there is any way that you can put out there a few examples on how, because I have so many influencers either that I follow or that I see a perspective that I can use this Google Doc. And I have trouble coming up with ideas of what's going to be the offer for them to offer in this Google Doc to their.
Perfect. I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to put this on the back burner right now because I'm slowly getting to it. So there'll be a breakthrough insight for you guys, right? So the first thing I just want you guys to understand out of this is there's so much traffic out there, so many influencers out there. Now, who's really using this is e-com, right? E-com people use this a lot more than digital publishers and coaches for whatever reason. But there's even some improvements, massive improvements, I think this would make for e-com, right? But Fabricio brings up a good point here, right? Which is, first we got to understand what they want, So I haven't tried to use this metaphor, so we'll see what happens, right? But help me as much as you can with this, right? We're going to use a physical product first. Let's say that we sell water filters. Like, I'm trying to figure out the most boring freaking thing that I can possibly think of: water filters. And we're going to go look at all these influencers that may be able to help us sell some water filters, right? Well, everybody drinks water. Shit. Okay. Right? So we can't just be selling water or clean water, right? We have to be selling the benefits of clean water and then find somebody who wants those benefits, right? Let's take a look at this. I don't care if there's 1,000, if it's a nano influencer, right? Or a micro influencer, or a huge sports celebrity. If you're an influencer, whether you call yourself that or not, let's get into their world for a minute, right? Let's just say you're a micro influencer. You got about 10,000 people that follow you or subscribe to you, right? You make most of your money off, let's say you're YouTube, right? You make most of your money with people clicking ads, and you do some endorsements or shout outs for some people, right? Remember, everything is an offer and everything comes with risk. Our job is to reduce risk on any offer, right? But what would be the risk that these influencers have about selling our water filter? Or anything, really.
They look bad if it doesn't work.
That's right. They have reputation risk. Their biggest thing is like, I don't want to look bad, right? What's the opposite of I don't want to look bad? That would be the Hell Island. What would be the opposite of that?
Their names go down in infamy.
That's right. They want to look awesome. They want people to say, oh my God, this person's so awesome, right? I'm going to tell all my friends. I'm going to share their stuff because they're giving me awesome stuff, right? So one of the ways e-com gets around this, and this is very, very, very effective, and I'm not saying not to do it, right? But I was just watching a lady, she works with baby products, and she reaches out to like mom blogs and mom influencers and all that kind of stuff, and just says, I'd love to send you one of our swaddlers or one of our baby products. That's all she says. I would love to send it out to you, right? Why do you think it works so effectively for them to actually get the product? Is it just because they want free product? Yeah, that's nice, right? But why does it work so effectively for them to get the product first?
They can check the quality themselves.
That's right. They get to see the quality for themselves, see if they like it or not. What most influencers say, I never promote anything that I don't believe in, right? And those kind of things, right? So we have that of, hey, if this product is going to be good or not, right? And that holds true in e-com, but it also holds true in e-digital coaching kind of stuff. So I'm not saying not to say, hey, I'd like to give you free access to how I save $200 a month on my food bills or whatever, right? I'm not saying not to do that, but just kind of think of it in their context. Let's assume for a minute that they have 100 great products sitting in their living room. Like they're all out of sight. They're all amazing, right? What's another problem that they have?
Delivery, distribution.
What's that, Fabricio? I'm sorry, I'm not
the delivery, the distribution, the way to deliver that product.
Well, that's going to be for the product people, right? But they've got 100 people saying, "Hey, will you give a shout out for my product?" Right? They've got 100.
They need to know how to choose which ones to promote.
Okay, let's say they're all awesome. Let's say they're all will cure cancer. It's a big problem. And nobody this is what I want to show you.
The most profitable one.
That I think you're right. Given that they're all going to cure cancer, right? They're going to probably go with the most profitable one, right? But there's still a problem. What's the problem? Like how many products should I promote? 3 products a day? 10 products? What's the reputation risk there? Somebody at the early part of this call was talking about this, worried about it, right?
Burn out the audience.
They're afraid to burn out the audience, right? If they're shouting out or promoting or pitching all these things, how many can I do before it burns out my audience, right? So then they have a cap. Like they're going to come up, I don't know what the cap is. They're going to come up with their own head. Well, I can do 3 a week, right? Or maybe 3 a month. But for micro influencers, and I did some research on this. I don't have it here, but I mean, I do, but for like nano and micro influencers, right? So you got 10,000 people that follow you and you're going to do some shout outs. Let's say that you figure you can do, and 3 a week's probably generous, right? Let's say you figure you can do 3 a week without the wheels coming off, without people getting mad and calling you a shill or a sellout. Guess what these shout outs are normally going for? Like on average with 10,000 people.
About 1,000 a piece.
For 10,000 people, it's like between this is the data that I found, $100 to $500. For less than 10,000 people, $10 to $100. It's a big opportunity, you guys. I used to do this with banners. I'll say, hey, just send me some people, right? But you got 1,000 people. Let's just say it's 1,000 people, right? And by the way, there's network set up. You can just go buy these things, right? And I'll talk about that here in a little bit, right? But let's say they're getting $300 per shout out and they can do 3 a week. That means they cap their income, right? So I can only do 900 a week, right? That's why they're trying to grow their audience so much so they can get up to that $1,000 a shout out, right? Because they can only do so many of them.
So the solution is?
Don't be so quick, because I want you guys to get the principle of this.
Okay.
If you get the principle, like you'll be able to use this for the rest of your life.
Got it.
So let's go back to our water filter example, right? Anybody have any ideas? What kind of influencers could we go to? The reason why I want you guys to struggle with this is when I say it's going to appear obvious, right? And if it appears too obvious, you're never going to use it, right? But I can't think of a more boring fucking thing than a water filter. But how could we crush it selling water filters? Like who could we go to? What are some of the benefits of clean water?
Natural health influencers.
Perfect.
I would go to the survival market.
My ears are having a hard time. They don't know if
I would go to the survival market influencers. People who serve the survivalist and pepper niche.
I'm really
Survival.
I have southern ears, so I have trouble.
Yeah, he said survival niche, I think.
Oh, survival niche. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, right? If these are like portable or something like that, like awesome. I like that idea.
The mom niche.
Okay, how so?
Because they want their families to be healthy. They want their children to be healthy. They want to know that they're doing the best thing to keep their kids healthy.
Perfect. And if we were going to go down, like I have to get really symptomatic and specific on that, right? Like a big problem right now for kids is allergies, right? You think water has anything to do with that? Like how many? And so that's a very hot topic, right? Like, does that make sense? So we want to get down to those very specific benefits that this could help with. I don't know. I'm not an allergy expert, right? But I'm making that bullshit. A lot of water has, 3 parts of copper per milliliter, and this is one of the leading causes of whatever skin rash. Does that make sense, right? So now we're getting down to the more benefit thing, other than just say everybody who needs water, right, can do it, right? I'm going to share an example that worked gangbusters. Was many, many years ago, so I don't remember all the details, right? But they went to beauty places, young skin, like how much of our body is made up of water, right?
70%.
Yeah, a bunch of percent, right? So this goes to the plan thing, right? What's women's plan normally to take care of their skin? They put masks on, they, do facials, they got scrubs, all this external stuff, which is all awesome, right? But what about nutrition on the inside, right? And a big part of your nutrition is going to be how pure your water is, right? Does that make sense? Just like some of the biggest influencers out there are like beauty, makeup, all these kind of things, right? But we still run into the problem of, okay, let's assume that they've got 100 great products sitting in their living room right now, right? How can we, and by the way, you guys, if you could do a water filter inside of a 2-page Google document or 3-page or whatever, right? But the problem is, even if we sent them our water filter, they've got 100 other things in there, and they can only do so many. Per week or per month or whatever they got in their mind, right? How could we get around that?
Find out what they own already that they're excited about, but don't have a way to monetize it, and offer them a way to monetize it.
Okay.
So
how can we just like completely make them it not an issue, so that they don't have to feel like a shill? How can we get them from I'm afraid to look bad to I'm looking really, really good to my audience, right? I'm not saying there's only one way, but.
So I'm doing this right now in children's books. And basically the way I'm doing it is I make the product with them. I put their name on it. So it kind of bypasses.
I like that. That's really awesome. I'm not sure that would work great on a water filter, but I like that for what you're doing. That's really awesome, Kevin. Yeah. That's like licensing, right? Like I always use Margaritaville, but Margaritaville is the most profitable song ever. Did it sell the most copies? No. But he's got his logo on flip-flops and beach towels and all kinds of stuff. He gets paid every time that gets put on there, right? So if you're a towel manufacturer, right, a beach towel manufacturer, and you get the rights to Margaritaville, right, that's awesome. And then depending on what type of thing it is, like you can get the promotion back too. So I like that. I'm not saying it's wrong by any means. I like that a lot.
Just to clone the asset, move them on the email, throw a T1 and move them to email or something, or text.
Could do that. Yep. You could say, hey, so yeah, you have this audience. What if we gave you another audience that wasn't dependent on that, right? So that's awesome. I really like that idea a lot too.
Yeah, I was gonna say borrow someone else's audience.
Yeah. That's the one thing people don't, they only look at their audience as like it's not copy and pasteable, right? That's a big breakthrough there, right? So I'm so glad that we're doing it this way because we're getting a lot of great ideas, right? But totally, yeah. So you've got all your subscribers on YouTube, right? What if I started an email list? Like, let's say they're a beauty, like they did makeup. What if we started an email list about skin health, right? Does that make sense? And we're getting closer to where I'm talking about. What if we started an email list about skin health, right? Like nothing's going to make your makeup look better than fresh skin underneath, right? Do you think that would be helpful for your people, right? So we want to look at what problem does their audience have, right? Somebody's got a mic too close to their speaker. I'm feeding back here. So we're getting real close to the breakthrough here, right? So we've been talking about all this time about pre-selling, right? Let me see if I can move a little farther in this metaphor, right? I'll give you a couple examples that maybe will make the light come on and stay with you forever and ever. It's my goal here. So this guy did webinars on water filters, but it wasn't about what who would show up for a webinar about fucking water filters? Nobody. But they would do webinars on youthful skin. Here's the top 3 tips for youthful skin. I don't remember what they were. It's too long ago. Tip number 1, tip number 2, right? And then tip number 3 was the biggie. Tip number 3 was just all about nutrition. What is most of our nutrition made up of? Water. And here's all the things, here's all the skin, like crow's feet, exacerbated by this, or come on faster at this, the dead, I can't remember all the little skin ailments, right? The ashiness, like, on the cheeks comes from this and from that. By the time you're done, you're like, oh my God, my water's fucked. Does that make sense? And so what's going on there in context, in relationship with what we've been talking about earlier on pre-selling? What's happening here? We're pre-selling what? I'm glad we're doing it this way. What do we're saying, hey, you want youthful, young looking skin.
Pre-selling the new plan.
That's right. We're pre-selling the new plan. Like, what could be better? Like, hey, it's great. I'm not saying not to put makeup on. I'm not saying to moisturize. I'm not saying to cleanse. I'm not saying to use astringent. Those are all outside things. But in 30 seconds and for $199, you can attach this to your faucet, right? And eliminate all these other things and start the nourishment from the outside in, right? Crushed it. Think of how many audiences you could go to with those benefits. Tip 1, tip 2, and then tip 3 is the big one, right? I'm not saying for you guys to start doing webinars on this, right? I'm wanting you guys to grasp the principle, not the tactics behind this, right? It's going to be another webinar example. I'm going to move to a different example, right? I shared this a lot just because it was such a great success story. Everybody know what reputation management is? Like when somebody's got some bad reviews and they got to get pushed down or whatever. So I had a woman that did rep management for auto dealers, right? This is a great classical influencer situation. So she would like cold call these auto dealers and try to let her do the reputation management for them, right? And it was going kind of good, right? Because it was a problem that they did have, and they didn't want to figure it out on their own, right? But it was a slow process, as you might think, like ring, hey, is the general manager in, right? Just imagine, like, and then you get them like, oh, we're not interested, right? You have to go through a bunch of those. Does that make sense? She's like, I'm doing good, Travis, but it's just slow. So what did I think of? I think of who's the influencer, right? And in every big city, I always get this National Automobile Dealers Association. They call it NADA. And it's an association, right? So they're an influencer. And one of the things an association has to do to keep getting dues and fees is provide value to their members. So I said, why don't you contact the NADA in the area rather than calling all the 100 dealerships in the area? Why don't you just contact the NADA? It's kind of like Tom Curtis's one right relationship thing, right? Say, do your people ever get Yelp reviews or bad reviews that pop up? Like, oh my God, yes, they complain about it all the time. Like, they're so unfair. She could tell it, she hit a thing, right? Well, what if I did a free training for all your people and I show them how to get rid of all those bad reviews? Oh my God, our people would love it, right? So they would mail to her little webinar presentation. All of a sudden now, instead of like cold calling, she's got 10, 20, 30, 40 automobile dealers on this webinar there to figure out how to get rid of those bad Yelp reviews. What else did she get? She not only had all those people there all at the same time, what else happened? What else psychologically happened? Based off of what I've been telling you guys, right? With the influencer thing.
She borrowed the authority and built a relationship.
They already had a relationship, right? Like, holy crap. NADA saying that this girl's the girl. Versus, hey, you don't know me, but I help you get rid of it. Like, right? Way different frame. Way different frame. And she crushed it. Right? Now, what she would do on the webinar, which I like, she would show them how to do it. She would show them everything to excruciating fucking detail. What she was doing is she's giving them a current, here's the plan. And once they're like, oh my God, like I totally see how this could work. But I just want to sell some damn cars. What do you think the new plan she said was at the end of it?
I'll do it for you.
Yeah, you guys want me to do it for you? Just reach out, right? Here's how we can get in touch with me. Crushed it. Let me give you a non-webinar example. The other guy that just crushed it, did millions and millions and millions off of this. I wish I would have done it. It's so smart. I kind of figured out what he did, had my own version of it. But so in the dating and relationship advice space, and everybody has these products and all these influencers, what do they want to do with their products? They want them to be better or the products to be worse? Better, right? Obviously. But what's the current plan? Well, if to make my product better, I got to come up with new shit. That's the current plan, right? What if somebody would just give me something that was really fucking awesome that all my people would like? And I can just put that in as a bonus. How awesome would that be? His first name's Michael. His last name's escaping me right now. I'll probably think of it. But he came up with 101 romantic dating ideas. And I swear to you, like, it's different now, but there was not a relationship advice book or course. Even some dating sites had his book inside of their area as a bonus. And inside of this PDF, he had links to affiliate stuff. You could sign up to his list, right? But he got distribution out to all of these influencers. Why? Because he made them look good with no effort. He made them look good with some effort, right? You know, I had to, I have to copy and paste this into my download area, right? But it goes back to what I'm saying. Like, you want to create it yourself, right? He just let them use it for free. Like, hey, just put this in your download. Your people will love it. It'll help you sell more. And it did. Like, everybody, like, you get this bonus. I almost had it. Michael, 101 romantic dating ideas, right? Just like if you were selling water filters and you come up with a PDF, right? It said 3 the best tips for healthy, young looking skin, right? Yeah. And he put it all in those download areas, right? Are we starting to track here? Like, anybody getting any ideas on how we could get to these influencers and make them look amazing and pre-sell before they get to our 2-page Google document, right? What's going to be hard is going to be saying, hey, we promote my shit. I've got this awesome water filter, or I've got this awesome, I don't care what it is, I've got this awesome letter that people can send out, right? That might be, if you're charging for it, that's going to be harder, right? Somebody tell me something that's brewing up.
So the original problem was the threat was burning out the list. So your stories illustrate education or insight that specifically talks to the pain of the audience. I guess if they're not selling on every webinar or every educational, it's more pre-selling. So that's more content to prime up that audience 3, 4, 5 times a week, even on the, value. And then the pitch, so they're just more pre-sold.
Excuse my French, but ding, motherfucking ding, right? So if you gave them a Google document or a PDF or a video or whatever it is, having an influencer promote your Rudolph content or your Santa Claus content that pre-sells your plan, right? It's going to be way more effective than, hey, will you sell my shit? And especially right now, you can just go buy shout outs, right? Now, if it was me, if I'm buying a shout out, I'm going to make them opt in first, right? So if I'm going to Nata and saying, hey, I put together this great PDF and people can push down their bad Yelp reviews, right? Would you like to give it out to all your members? My gosh, that's a problem. Yes, I would, right? Now, they might even do it for free if it's going to help their people, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, my people would love to have that. Perfect. I've set up the link and everything for you. Here's where they can get it. And if you did like a, I think he's left now, Mr. Foon. There he is. There's Kevin. If you customize it, right, and make them look good. Hey, I'm just throwing out tactics now about what you guys are drinking the principles. What if you said, hey, I'm going to give you a coupon code. They go to this page and it's normally $10, but they put in Kevin Foon, right? They're going to get it for free, right? Like, whoo, now you just made them look good. Does that make sense? You can deliver some pre-sale content And even if you're selling a $99 thing to $999 thing, it's going to work better for you because what have you just done? You've just got their endorsement. They're saying this dude's the shit. Then you've just pre-sold the plan, and then you can give them your beauteous 2-page Google Doc or whatever. It doesn't have to be 2-page Google document, right?
Do you mind if I add something?
Yeah, dude.
So what I've learned is, what you were saying before, they have like a a cabinet full of stuff. They've gone from every company under the sun. Yeah. And one of the real problems is none of that is theirs. So the more you can customize it to have them own some of it,
that's right,
the more they look better and the more motivated they would be to keep pushing it. Like the whole time I've been getting texts from influencers that I'm working with, promoting their book that I created with them. And they're excited. They're like, oh, we sold over 100 books. I was like, yeah, really cool. But the more they can own it, the more likely they'll push it on top of all that other stuff that they're just getting. Hey, push my stuff. And if it's something that'll make them look better, like a book, what you were saying, a webinar, it's even better.
Those are $1 million words that just came out of your mouth, right? They're principles, right? The tactics. They want to look good. They want to have ownership, right? There's all kinds of tactics to make that happen, right? They want recognition, right? I used to get 30,000 free visitors a day to some of my relationship advice stuff. Yes. Did they get an affiliate commission? Yes. But beyond that, they wanted to feel like they were doing their universe some good. And I recognize all my small affiliates, like everybody just like goes to the big people, right? Typically. So I see such an opportunity for all these small influencers out there. Like there's some of these influencers that only got 1,000 people that will drive more sales than somebody that's got 100,000, right? But people discount these. This is how I crushed it. I was top. It feels like I'm bragging on myself. I just want you guys to understand the power. I'm just a dude from Arkansas. Understanding the principle that people want recognition and feel important more than they want money is how I crushed it. I stayed on the top of ClickBank, not in my category, on the top 10 on ClickBank for over 5 years. Yes, I had a desperate crowd that had a desperate solution, but the real secret was getting my distribution, all these small, I call them mom and pop affiliates, right? They had a small blog, but they would promote all the time. But when I would give them content to promote, right? I would give them like articles and nuggets and stuff that they could promote that content, right? So I made them look good, but I also celebrated them, right? I gave them recognition. That's a little bit different from what we're talking about here, right? But it's the same principles. People want to look good. So sometimes if you rush in with the money too quick, they say, hey, I'd like to give you some money for selling my water filter. They'd be like, fuck off. How is this going to help my people? Is it going to make me, they don't come out and say this, right? Everything is an offer. And every offer, the more we can reduce risk, right? The more people we're going to get to say yes to it. And it's not just about sales. You can get anything that you want by doing this, right? I'm in the land space. So I'm buying land super cheap with my money, but I don't even need my money because if I can find the land cheap enough, people give me money. It's not risky for them if I buy it right. It is risky for them if I buy it too expensive, right? But if I can buy it, and we're not going to get to all the detail, I just want you guys to understand the principles. Again, don't get hung up on the tactics. But if I can buy a piece of land, 2 acres is a real example for $15,000, and all the other acreages around it are going for 50, 60, 70,000. All the comps, if I don't have 15,000 to buy it, somebody can give me 15 grand to buy it, and we'll split the profit, right? I'm just taking the risk out for them. Now, if I'm buying it for 80 and everything around it's going for 50, 60, 70, it's going to be a risky proposition, right? I'm going to probably have to spend my own money on that, or I have to know something I can do to that land, right? Again, there's lots of tactics you could apply to this, right? You could take somebody as a YouTube channel and say, hey, what if we did a Facebook group, right? You can kind of control, you can have them seed your group or seed your list, right? Sometimes it's just easier to say, hey, like, you people have a problem with this. I've got a Facebook group. That's what I do with my offer stuff, right? I just had somebody promote me from his Facebook profile, put like 200 people in, right, into my group, just because he thought it would help his people out, right? Does that make sense? And there's all kinds of, like, all the traffic we could ever want for this. And I'm not saying not to buy Facebook ads or YouTube ads or anything like that, right? But once you get this working, right, like, you can drive all the traffic that you want, all the leads that you want, right, by understanding these principles, that the problems that the influencers have out there, right? They want to look good. They can't be, even the products are great, they can't be showing products 11 times a day, right? So you can say, hey, I got this thing. Do you think it would help your people? They'll be like, yeah, I think it would help. We're like, great. It's normally X amount of dollars, right? I'll give it to you guys for free, right? You could set up, get a coupon because they're going to look awesome. They're going to look fucking great. Now, if they're making some money on the side too, right, that might be a benefit as well, right? I wouldn't cut them in for a big percentage unless you have to, because, like, most of these people, like, work for Shout. Is anybody really deep into influencer marketing? Perfect. So, you guys probably, there's all kinds. If you Google, I wrote down a few of these. And I used to do this with blogs. I'd go out there, you could buy ads on blogs, you could buy banners, right? Like, this has been around forever. What you want is you want to have the intellectual property, the marketing intellectual property, right? And then make the site owner or the influencer look good, and you send it to it. But there's all kinds. Though one of them I saw out there that had a lot of good reviews and stuff on was Shoutcart. If you go to shoutcart.com, like, you can say, I want beauty blog, I want beauty influencers, YouTube, Instagram, and like for 10, 40, 50 bucks, like, you can get shout outs. I'm just saying, I wouldn't run all that traffic straight to your 2-page Google document, right? I'd have them opt in to give him with some Rudolph content. Does that make sense? Fiverr, you can buy these things right off Fiverr, right? I would be careful there, right? If they're kind of cheap, right, that's okay, right? But don't, so this is not a whole course on how to buy influencer traffic, right? There's a ton for TikTok influencers, one called Influence Grid, right? It'll help you. There's software out there that'll help you find your influencers and make those offers, right? So I just want to give you this as a bonus to the bonus, not so much as going super deep on how to do that, because I know not a lot of you guys, but some of you guys have smaller audiences or smaller lists, and could use that a little bit of traffic and lead help on that. You could also do this for people, right? There's so many. The way they talk about influencer space is you have your influencers and you have your brands, right? They call that brands. Like, hey, I'm a brand. I'm trying to bring more traffic to my stuff, but they haven't figured out the solution to what I've just been giving you. They're like, they want to go to an influencer and say, buy my shit, basically. Like, hey, buy my water filters, right? Works so much better if you would put, I think of myself as an intellectual capitalist, right? I like intellectual property, right? I want to figure out what intellectual capitalists make. We make horizontal income that comes in while we're laying flat, right? So I want my marketing IP to be the asset for me, right? So if you get one of these guys at work and they're promoting your content. Now, what do you think is easier, to get somebody to promote your content 5 times a year, or just to promote your product 5 times a year? What do you think is easier? Content or product?
I think product.
What'd you say, honey?
It's obviously content.
Content, right? So this is how you can turn, like, remember I was saying get more utilization, like we're talking on a post, right? I did this when I had all my affiliates. I would wait when somebody made 1 or 2 sales. I just felt like, oh, here's another small rink-a-dink, affiliate. Just ignore them. No, I'd go find out who they were and thank them, right? And I would build a relation. Like they might just put a blog post on there, right? They might have just did a YouTube video, right? On that, right? And so I want to not just have them promote it once. I want to have them promote it multiple times. They're so much easier if they had content, right? When my pen name was T-Dub, when T-Dub would put out a video, right? I would send that video out to all my affiliates, and literally like in 48 hours, I would be on like 300 different blogs. And so I had distribution out there, right? Like, oh, and I'd give them helpful stuff, right? Tip 1, tip 2, tip 3. And the tip 3 would be like the big one or some version of that. And then if they bought, my affiliates would also get a commission, right? But it was tertiary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but can I ask you a question?
You bet, dude.
Okay, thanks. Let's say I have 3-4 influencers with over 1 million followers on Instagram, which one is a singer, one is a soap opera, another is a comedian. They have actually nothing to sell than their shows, whatever they do. So, and I have nothing to sell because my service doesn't match with them. And I need to find either a product or a good service to put, and I have the audiences. I can tap in their audiences. The thing is, I don't know how to resell a new plan, reduce the risk. Okay, now we're talking about, hey, I can create something. But the idea is, instead of driving everything to my product or brand, I want them to make money, either 20%, 50%, whatever, doesn't matter. But if I got 1 million followers and the influencer is happy selling and making 20% of that, whatever is 1K to 10K a month, I'm so happy too. So I have the ability, I have the chance to get 3 to 5 people like that. Once I get one, I can get the rest because they're in the same group. But I don't know.
So there's a lot of different ways you could approach this, but I think the simplest one is what Kevin's recommending for you, right? And I wouldn't necessarily want to come up with my own brand, right? But how many brands are out there that could use an influencer, right? And you just put those people together and you partner them up, right? There's just tons of examples like this. How much cookware out there's got Martha Ray's name on it? You think Martha Ray's out there like in the factory figuring out how to know that they've already got this stuff? They're just putting them together. So I would find, like, for a singer, like, what kind of products do you like? What kind of products are you already purchasing? And what are you passionate about, right? Or if you're thinking of digital products, like, who taught you to sing? How did you learn to sing, right? And you could do a promotion or not a promotion, but you could find out, oh, well, this person taught me how to sing, right? So you could partner up that way. But physical products are really simple because you're just basically licensing the name, right? So you put the influencer together with the brand, right? And then you're just kind of like, it's an old business. It's called being a licensing agent. Basically what you're doing is you're operating as a licensing agent. But here's the problem that people haven't figured out, right? You have the influencer and you have the brand. You can't just mash those two together because most of them don't know how to do the marketing in between. That's where we come in. We provide the marketing IP, right, to make it all work, right? And like I'm saying, if we're selling water filters, right? And say we're going to, there's some of these makeup girls that got millions and millions and millions of followers, right? So you could, I don't think probably somebody would like to brand a water filter. That's just not very exciting, right? Maybe they would, right? But that's what I would do. I would work as kind of like a licensing agent, right? And put those people together.
Also, most of people they don't have a Facebook group, they don't have a email list, they only have followers on Instagram and YouTube. That's all.
Yeah. What's it? Is that are you saying that as a breakthrough or a problem?
No, it's something that they I think they need, but they don't think they need that because they making money out of their shows, or they don't see this as a second income or as a way to monetize a group or a new list. So I want to come joint venture with them in this scenario.
Yep. So I would. So here's two things, right? One thing is like most people aren't open to it doing a second income, right? Because it's a difficult plan, right? Until they have enough pain, right? So there's a lot of people are like, oh, I'm doing awesome, right? Until they get deplatformed or they get throttled, and like, oh, now they're in panic mode, right? But trying to sell prevention is really, really tough. So what I would do is sell them what they already want first, right? So they're on YouTube. What naturally do they want? If they're doing videos every day, what do they naturally want? They want more views. They want more subscribers, right? So I would say, hey, how would you like every video you do to drive more views to it, right? That you can completely control, right? So I would get them to do that email list or that Facebook group. I'd probably do an email list first, but pull it off the email first. And that would be our first date. Now, like, whoo, now we've got 10,000 people on an email list, right? Now we can propose things that they don't have to do anything with, because we can control the traffic. We may not necessarily own it, but we can control the traffic. Hey, you've got 10,000 people over here, right? And there's a new headphones coming out that's even better than Beats by Dr. Dre, like if they're a music thing, right? But they're looking for somebody to get behind it, right? I can handle all that for you. You just keep doing what you're doing. I'll handle the email list, right? Does that make sense? So you would do it in stages, but you start with what's going to solve the immediate pressing problem for them right now, which is going to be all they think. What? Please, they'll practically beg you sometimes. Please smash the like button. Please smash the subscribe button so more people hear about us and we can. So like that's how I would approach them, right? With those things that they're already working on.
Would it make sense if they're adverse or they don't find necessarily the idea of making more money for themselves important? Can you if you do enough research, find out, what their favorite charity is or something like that, and you can generate the money and then you could give it, to your charity to leave more of a legacy, that type of a thing? Would that be?
Sure. I just think present pain is going to be your easiest bet. Right? There's a reason they're on YouTube. They want more subscribers and they want more likes and they want to get better. They want a bigger channel, and email is a way they don't want email. It's just a way for them to get a better, bigger channel. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess I was just drilling down on, if you continue to ask why, well, why do you want that? Why do you want that? I want to be significant. I want to leave a legacy. I want to do more.
Well, that's what I mean, it is what it is, right? But most people are playing a status game, right? And so they want to be bigger than the other channels. They want to be the top channel. It's all recognition, right? So if you talk into that recognition, right? Like, you're doing awesome. I don't know why you're not the biggest channel in this space, right? I'd like to help you do that. holy crap, like you're gonna be able to talk with them about that, right? Here's a plan that I have that wouldn't require any work on your part. Think about how many like these descriptions that these guys have, right? And I was just looking at some, like they're terrible. They go, and some of these guys getting millions of views per video, and they say, oh, follow our link in the description, right? And it goes to some janky ass website that's just terrible, right? Does that make sense? So these are great things. We could, like, hey, we could just add a link to these things, right? We could, 2 seconds, right? You could do all these. We could start building your email list, or we could make some of these sales, or hey, like if you're already promoting an affiliate product, right? But you're using this, let's try mine, right? Does that make sense? So there's all kinds of just opportunities to do something a little bit better with what they already got.
Hey, Travis, can I share an example that may help Fabricio?
Dude, I would love that because I need a drink of water and a little bit of a... So you go ahead and share, dude.
Sure. So I was selling a product in the dog training space. So what we did was we basically paid a YouTuber who was actually quite famous in the dog training space, and we paid him to use his content in our ads. Okay. So the whole idea was to just use it as the content. But when we started using his content in the ads, there was great appeal just for his content. So what we did was we picked a clip, okay, use that clip as the content, and then bundled the whole training with the product and started selling that. And then we turned it into a product and pitched the YouTuber himself to promote it as an affiliate. Okay, because it was already his own content, so he was ready to open to doing that. And then whatever his AdSense revenue was back then, we made him 10x out of that within a month. And then he kept promoting that whenever he felt like. So that is something that you can do with your singers and all the other influencers you have got. You can pay them for their time, okay? Then you can turn it into a product, and because it's their own product, they would love to promote it. So that's something awesome. You can find.
Dude, that's fantastic. That was like anybody who's paid $99 for this thing just got like 10 times that. So I appreciate it. That's awesome, dude.
Can I also add something?
Yeah, dude.
That's probably more relevant here. So I had a friend who had a supplement company, and he manufactures the supplement himself. He owns manufacturing. I wrote him a really long sales letter a long time ago that did pretty well. And I caught up with him not too long ago, and he was asking what I was doing. I told him about what I was doing with children's books and influencers. And he was like, how could I do this for myself? So I said, why don't you just go to all the influencers and brand their own supplement with you? And he's like, all right, well, but what about the marketing? And I was like, why don't you just take the sales letters I wrote and just rehash it to every single influencer? And I probably missed out on a bunch of royalties that way, but he asked me to, I don't think he ever went through with it, but he asked me to manage the influencers too. And I have no interest in being a talent manager. So that's why I declined. But, it's just finding someone with a product that they could pretty much white label brand with an influencer. You can write, in the context we're talking here, a 2-page Google Doc that you can just keep reusing and reusing.
That's right. Dude, the more you talk, the smarter I realize you are. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the glasses.
I'll go with that. I'll buy into that. That's awesome. Yeah, intellectual property is my favorite asset class, right? It's so flexible. That's the good part. The bad part is it's so flexible. People can't wrap their mind around everything you can do with it, right? But what's missing in this world is the sales and marketing IP, the intellectual property, right? Putting these, now they're calling it brands and influencers, right? This has always been the same shit, right? Used to be license agents, right? You'd be a sports team, right? And you'd have a license agent, like Tommy Lasorda didn't go out there. I'm going way back, right? Didn't go out there and work licensing deals for the Dodgers, right? There's a licensing agent, like, hey, I represent the Dodgers. You think you'd sell more of your stuff if we put the Dodgers logo on it? They're like, oh yeah, right? Okay, let's put the logo on there, right? There's a little known story, and hopefully it won't offend any of my women on here, but Hugh Hefner almost run Playboy into the ground. He started doing too much shit. He owned the casino, and he like owned airlines, and he started doing all this stuff, right? And he almost run it into the ground. Like, he was still making lots of money, but he was spending lots of money. And it was his daughter that turned it around for him. She's like, hey, we don't need to own the plane. We don't need to own the casino. We don't need to own the t-shirt manufacturing company. We got this. We got the little bunny logo. We can get paid just by putting this bunny logo on there, right? So licensing's been around for a long time, right? And then it kind of morphed into affiliate stuff. It's really the same thing. Affiliate's the same process. You're taking somebody that has an audience, somebody that has a product, right? And putting them together, but you have to have marketing IP for that. That's like your toll position or the control position, right? And now it's just, they're calling it influencers and brands, right? 10 years from now, it'll be something else, right? But it's like every business, why I'm so into like trying to get you guys to soak in these principles. Every business is, you have a supply of something. I don't care if it's as newfangled as NFTs or as old fangled as clothespins. You have a supply of something, you do something to it, and you sell it to somebody else, right? And you need intellectual property in there in all those stages. How do you acquire it? There's intellectual property on how to acquire. Like, I have intellectual property on how to acquire land dirt cheap and know-how, right? And there's a process, there's intellectual property for how to do the process in between, right? Here's what you do to the land once you have it, that'll triple its value, right? And for me, all I do is add owner financing. That's what I do to it. I buy the land dirt cheap. I don't do shit to it. I just offer an owner financing, right? And I have a buyer's list now, and I have IP to sell that land to a buyer's list, right? Intellectual property. I don't even consider myself in the land business. I'm in the database business. I'm building up buyer's lists, right? So when I get land, I can just sell it, right? Does that make sense? So I'm trying to get across to you guys, right? Is these little Google documents, whether it's 2-page, 4-page, 6-page, whatever, right? It's one of the most valuable assets that you can have. It's one of the most flexible assets that you can have, right? Obviously, if you're doing something really faddish, it's going to have less it can be short-term value, right? That's why I try to do long-range things or evergreen things, right? It's how, like, there's always going to be relationship problems. I mean, maybe someday there will never be relationship problems, right? But having a relationship advice IP and all the marketing IP lasts for a long time, right? Now things change in that, right? But the IP, like, if I had a choice between owning real estate and owning IP, I would take IP in a heartbeat. You don't have to write it. Like, you can get other people's IP, like you can find their ads, you can license their ads, you can license their books, right? I used to call these Magic Tees pages. When I was an affiliate, I would sell a lot of software, right? But I didn't own the software. And a lot of times it was free software, but I would set up a Magic Tees page and say, hey, I found this software that'll help you do a screen grab. Right? That was amazing stuff back then, right? But I would make them opt in for it. And then I would just run a Camtasia video showing them how to download it from CNET, right? And then how to set it up and how to push the buttons, right? And I would get all these people on there, right? So the product, right? I'm not saying the product's not valuable, but the IP behind it and what you're doing and building the database, right? Database is IP. Who's the richest companies in the world right now? Facebook, data. They're buying and selling and reselling and reselling and reselling and reselling and reselling data packaged in different ways, right? Amazon, same thing, data company, right? They do own some products, right? But Amazon's so smart, they figured out how to get everybody else to do the work, and they retain the customers. They're not your customers, they're our customers. Smart. Right? Am I going too deep here? Is this useful for you guys, or am I going way, way too deep on this? Let me back it up and talk more tactical stuff. Bill Gates made a fortune. Yes, he was smart that he got rights to the software, but that's not the smartest thing that he did. Do we know what the smartest thing that he did, like what really put him on the map? Yes, he had IP, DOS, right? He didn't even know if he had it. And the story goes, he said he had it and he didn't, and he just went and paid $50,000 and got all the rights to it, which was smart and risky, right? That's not the smartest thing that he did. Now he had IP, the most flexible asset there is. And you got another piece of IP called distribution. So he went to IBM and they wanted this. He said, I'll sell it. I won't sell it to you. I'm going to license it to you. I'm going to lease it to you under these conditions. Condition 1, we get all the data on who's got this. We get all the data on who's got this. Did Bill Gates have distribution before this? No, he had no distribution. One fell swoop. He gets distribution every time the IBM computer sold. His DOS is on there, and he gets the data coming back to him to sell them upgrades and other stuff, Netscape, and all these different things, right? Just did something else really smart. Was understanding that if you could get the IBM domino to fall, what else was going to happen? If you could get IBM to take DOS, what else is going to happen? Was IBM the only computer company out there? No, there's a lot of little IBMs. They saw, ooh, IBM's got the DOS. How can we get the DOS? Right? So here's how you can get it. I'll license it to you under these conditions. We get all the customer data. We get the right to upsell them stuff. Right? So now he's got, now it's all going out. Here's the other smart thing. Like if you didn't buy from IBM or from Apple, most of us back in the 90s don't remember what kind of computers we had. We damn sure knew what operating system it was running. How did we know? How do we know what operating system it was running? But we might not know the style of computer it was.
The startup always showed the Windows logo.
You're really smart. You talk really fast. I can't slow my ears down enough.
Whenever you start the computer, it will show Windows logo and sound.
That's right. Every time you boot it up, the motherfucker, you are running DOS, MS-DOS by Microsoft, right? Every single time, right? I remember Windows 95. I hated it, right? Because it would crash all the time. So you had to reboot that thing. Like you just start rebooting it. Like you come in, that reboot, right? And it would take fucking forever. Windows 95. Right? So you knew what kind of operating system. So he bought free advertising everywhere. He got free advertising. Everybody knew who the fuck Microsoft was, right? But the desktop sitting underneath your desk in the dark, you're not going to go and look at what it was, right? So I'm going to back off this really, really deep stuff, right? And just kind of open it up for you guys. Anybody? I'm gonna kind of look through some of these. Tom says Miracle Whip is the worst. Yes. If you want to come on too, you can raise your hand and come on. I'm totally down with that. Anybody have any questions? The biggest thing you can do, whether you're Bugatti or a muscle car, and I appreciate it all. You know, some of you guys can't use that, or if you want to upgrade to any of those kind of things, just let me know. Here's the thing too. I didn't think about it, but if you can just seed your Facebook group, what I mean by seed, if you can just put 10, 20, 30, 40 people in there, right? You know, I've got audience multiplier campaign. You can have your group grow itself. And all you got to do is ask, right? If you ask in the right way, and you, again, go back to those principles, you recognize people, you make them feel important when they promote you, right? We've doubled size of groups, doubled email lists. And not only do you get more people in your group, people are more engaged because they just said, hey, I really like this group, right? They've told all their friends about it, right? And now you get more engagement. Like when somebody who's posting like, oh, I only get like 1% of people to like comment or like or whatever. Sometimes it's not about better content. It's about getting people, it's making a psychological shift, right? The old cereal companies used to do this. I was talking about this yesterday, but the old cereal companies used to do this, that like Lucky Charms would say, hey, write in and tell us what you love most about Lucky Charms, right? And the grand prize winner will get a year's supply of Lucky Charms or something like that, right? They didn't do that because they like to give away Lucky Charms, right? When they had hundreds or thousands of people writing about how much they love Lucky Charms, they're like convincing themselves or getting their own brand loyalty back to that, right? Same thing if you say, hey, we're on a mission here to do X. Will you help me do that and help me grow the group, right? And you gamify it a little bit, give them some recognition, and even like give them some free training or something else. Like, you know, I've doubled the size of my lists, right? 30,000 visitors a day on some of my stuff. Now they get affiliate commission, right? But just by giving out prizes and giving them some recognition, right? Super powerful stuff. So like, it's really about like, how can I do more with what I already have, right? If you've got a Facebook profile or any kind of email list, you can seed that over to a Facebook group, right? Even if there's only 50 people in it, then you can help have them. You're going to get distribution out through Facebook, but you can have your own people grow it, right? 50 turns into 100, 100 turns into 200, 200 turns into 400, right? At a certain point, you don't add that many. They get to 4,000 or 5,000, you might add a few hundred. But still, what does it cost if you're going to buy ads, right? If you're going to buy ads and try to fill your Facebook group, like I hear anywhere from $5 to $20 per group member. And guess what it doesn't fucking have when you're buying it from Zuckerberg? You don't get the halo and the endorsement, right? But if I can get Honey to go out and if I can give him some content that makes it look awesome, right? To promote one of the groups, right? Those people are way more valuable because they like, know, and trust Honey already. Does that make sense? So I'd much rather have 10 group members than 100 that comes out without the endorsement, right? And then I get those 10 and I can get them to grow it to 10 more and to 10 more, right? Does that make sense? What other questions we got, guys? Did I like totally like give you too much? Like, did I throw the fire hose at you? Go ahead, Honey.
Can you talk a little about the rent a dog offer that you posted in the group? Like, what should be the offer for the YouTubers right now?
Which offer do you want me to talk about?
You posted in the group and you named it Rent a Dog. Do you want me to share my screen or something? You posted on 31st July, which says that rent G dogs to content creators and influencers for $100 or $1,000.
Can you put it in the chat box here? I'm having a hard time under.
Sure.
It sounds like the Bugatti, possibly. I don't know.
I want to understand the offer positioning here.
Yeah, let me get it. Oh yeah, rent. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, right? Rent a doc, rent G-Doc content creators and influencers, right? That's gonna be more Bugatti stuff, right? But if you're an influencer, right? It's kind of what we do in Beamer, right? We just talk about it different. But if you're an influencer and you have a $99 product, you probably given, like, if you're an influencer, let's say around makeup, that'll be funny, right? You show women how to put their makeup on, right? And you have a $99 product, more than likely you only sell it using one angle. And there's probably 9 other angles, right? But you only sell it one way, right? And if I say, hey, I figured out a way to sell more of your product, right? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna write up the sales page for you. I wouldn't call it a G-Dog. I'll write the sales page for you. You're gonna keep it real simple, right? Run some of your traffic to it, and you just pay me afterwards, right? Then you're not selling them the document, right? You're just renting it out to them. So they have a $99 product. You say, hey, I'm gonna write this for you. If you will put this in all your description links, right? Give me 10% of all the sales that you make. I'm just pulling out a number out of my butt, right? Does that make sense? Or you could pay me 25 grand to do it, right? Up front. Most people are like, oh, does that make sense? If you don't sell anything awesome, right? So it's kind of what we do with Beamer, right? We just go, we write a T3 for them. They have the traffic, they have the product. We're just doing the T3 and getting a commission, right? So we're just renting the dot, right? So we don't want to sell it outright, right? It's like I make way more money. Well, I'll say, I want to be careful how I say it. If I have a piece of land, right, and I sell it for cash, I can double my investment pretty easily. Right. If I just say, hey, I'm going to sell it to you for, I don't tell them what I bought it for. Right. But if I bought it for 15, right, this is a real case. Like we bought it for 15, we put some signs on, sold it 2 days later for 45. Right. So I tripled my money, which is really good there. Right. But I could have easily put it on owner financing. Right. And probably got 60 grand for it. Likewise, if it was Zone Mobile Home, right, I could say, I'm going to lease it to you. You put your mobile home on it for like average mobile home in Arkansas, like land rent is about $300. $300 for the rest of my life, right? So it's just different. Like I make less money if I just sell it outright, right? So this is what copywriters get stuck into. Like, oh yeah, I'll write you an email for $200, right? I'm not saying they're not good emails, but they don't, if they really thought they were awesome, they'd be like, just give me a percentage of everything you make on it, right? Does that make sense? So renting it out, Bill Gates didn't sell Microsoft to IBM. He could have, right? IBM would say, oh yeah, we'll give you $1 million for it. That would have been like a multi-billion-dollar mistake, right? Does that make sense? Sometimes these little negotiating things, his name's not coming. Who's the George Lucas wrote? I don't know if he wrote. I get my jobs mixed up, but it like wrote and produced Star Wars, right? But guess what? One of the things he wrote into the contract, right? Yeah, he got a percentage of all the movie sales, but he did one smart thing, another smart thing. He said, I want all the licensing rights to the toys. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, you can have it. He made way more money off of that, off of leasing that intellectual property, right? So I just call it renting, right? I don't work for money, I work for assets, right? I know people get tired of hearing me say that, but the reason people are so strung out, wrung out of energy is because they work for money instead of working for assets, right? So George Lucas said, like, yeah, I'm going to work my ass off getting this movie going, but I'm going to own the licensing rights to all these toys. They'll pay me for years, right? Horizontal income, right? So that's why I call it renting, right? Much smarter to rent it out and retain the rights to it.
Can I make a comment on that real quick,
Travis? Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So this kind of goes along with like trash can assets too. So when George Lucas made that deal, like licensing like that, like really wasn't a thing. And he somehow he caught the vision. He just wanted, keep more control. He hated working for the studios as it was, but he saw that almost like a trash can asset in a way.
Yep.
And man, billions later.
Intellectual property. I'm an intellectual capitalist. I like to invest in intellectual property, right? Whether it's my time, money, or energy, right? There's so much IP out there, right? I did a live in the group talking about how I turned $800 into literally, like, I didn't want to overhype it, but there's days I made extra $1,000 selling upsells, $99 upsell, but I bought the rights for $800 to a communication, for a relationship, how to talk and improve the communication. I didn't want to do it, right? I just bought the rights to it, right? I call these micro investments, little investments that are, a few $100s to a few $1,000s that you can cash flow over and over and over again. And IP is one of the easiest ways to do that I've found. What's up, Damien? Hope you got you're muted, dude.
Yeah, sorry. Just been thinking the last couple of days about getting private label product, fashioning it into something for a guy who's got a really good suite of products already, but it would be something that would really fit with the rest of his products. And I was listening to the various things around, like where you were saying creating an ebook and just giving it to them, and there'd be like things to direct them to their email list to get other things.
Yeah.
Versus having them be able to take that product and badge it up as them, and then you just take a cut from it. I'm just trying to wonder where might be the best place to start if I was going to go down that route. Because there's that many different ways to cut it.
It's going to be dependent on each situation, right? So you want to find out. The hardest thing to do for me is to step out of my own shoes and into their shoes, and like, what are their main concerns? Like, use that buying frequency offer tool, right? Like, what's on their to-do list? They just like to get off that to-do list, right? It may not even be related to what you're doing, right? But figure that out first. It's going to be different for each partner that you have, if that makes sense, right? And then you're going to have the other person, like, say if you have the influencer and you have the product, then your product guy is going to want something. A lot of times you don't have to give them money. Again, this is the principle. People would rather have recognition a lot of times, right? What if I went to a big influencer? Let's say I had 10 influencers. They're all in the makeup space, right? And somebody had an ebook. It's like, here's the top 10 things you can do to have more beautiful, radiant skin into your 60s or 70s, right? I could say, hey, I really love this. Do you need more distribution for it? Would you like more people? Would you like more eyeballs on it? Like, would that help you? Yeah, it totally would help me, right? Like, and so a lot of times I'll get IP or bonuses to put in. I don't have to pay anything because I just want more eyeballs on it, right? Does that make sense? So just everything's dependent on the situation, on what you're doing, right? Like if you took everything away from me right now, right, I would just bring audience and product owners together. I'd probably figure out a way to get my product for free, right? And just give them distribution to it, right? We can do multiple links back. When I was really broke, buying my first affiliate ads, I'd start like buying ads and stuff where I can always fund it. Like I might be able to buy a banner for $2,000 a month, but I didn't have, $2,000 a month. I knew it'd be worth it, right? But you had rotators. So I'd find like 3 other guys, right? And I would split it out. So they were paying everything and my end was free, right? So there's all kinds of ways to play it out. But it's hard for me to not have a specific person we're looking at with specific problems, right? When I went into the relationship advice space, when I was doing my research, like most people just research, like, what does the end consumer want, right? Which is valuable. But I took the research even further. I realized there's a lot of people in long distance relationships at the time, right? Now it's not such a new thing, but it was just starting to happen, right? People were in more and more long distance relationships, right? And then long distance relationships were even more fraught with breakup, right? So I knew all the things there, right? And plus I started out with a breakup advice blog and all that kind of stuff, right? But when I was really like researching, like, hey, how can I get distribution? I realized that nobody else, all the other influencers, which most of them had email lists or blogs, even YouTube wasn't that big back then. But I would go to them and say, hey, I see you got this product, helping people have better relationships. Are any of your people in long distance relationships? And I use LDRs because are they in LDRs? Like, oh my gosh, yes. Are they emailing you or writing in saying that they broke up, right? And asking for advice on that? They're like, yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, right? If I came up with a product like that, would that be something that you think would be useful for your people? Oh my gosh, yes. So I already knew, like I'd already set up, like I knew that would be something that would be useful for their people, right? So as soon as I come out with it, right, I got it selling on my side, just go in and tap them like, hey, I visited with you 3 months ago. We were talking about LDRs and breakups, right? I just run this to my list. Here's the conversions that we're doing. If you'd be still for your people, like, here's some content, right? Some pre-sale or warm-up content you can give them, right? A lot of times they just promote right to the sales letter, right? But I already knew that was a problem that they were aware of that their people had. Does that make sense? That's usually where I started out. Like if I wanted to get on somebody's podcast, I wouldn't like say, hey, can I be on your podcast? I'm super awesome. I'm super awesome, dude. Right? No, I'm going to find out a problem that I think I could help their people with. Like I'm really great at driving leads from audiences, right? So, hey, do any of your coaches have Facebook groups? They have a hard time driving leads from that. Yes, absolutely. So I could say, hey, I would be happy to do a podcast where how do you write a post that gets you lots of leads, but not just going to waste your time, right? Would that be something useful? Oh my gosh, yeah. Would you be on my podcast? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the hard part is getting out of our own shoes and putting it almost in two people's shoes at the same time. One that being that influencer and the other one being the people that they're influencing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. A lot of the time, the ideas come from I'm actually already on their lists and use some of their products, and I just think, it's missing this, and that's the products that I'll be thinking about putting together and going to them and dropping that into their flow. But it's like whether you try and direct it back to you or you send all the buyers to them. So that's what I'm trying to work out, what would be the best.
The big thing is for me is not to get stuck in all the analysis, right? And to start, you're better off getting data, even if it's failed data, right? To me, there is no failure. There's just data, right? Like if I reach out to people, they're like, not really, or I get a bunch of silence. Okay. Then I know that's not the thing, right? But like Eric said, like he's just, we all would like just to be this way. Like, hey, I got this thing. Would that be useful? Oh my God, let me tell you. Oh, what a love. That's the way we would like it to be, right? We'd like just to sit there with our calculators and say, okay, calculator. That's the answer, right? But that's not typically the way that it works, right? You know? So that's a big thing. Just take your best opportunity, but stay in their shoes, right? Stay in their shoes. That's the hard part, right? Like I used this example before, but like, what if you wanted to do marketing for high-end sports cars like Lambos and Ferraris, right? Like if you went to the front desk and said, hey, I'd like to talk to your general manager about marketing your Ferraris and Lamborghinis, right? They're gonna be like, oh, he's not in. Oh, he's on the phone. Right? It's not going to be great because nobody wants that. They're not geared for marketing. Oh, here's I got a marketing guy. He's the answer to all of our problems. Like, yeah, we got a marketing guy. Like, we wish that was the way it would go. Right? But what if we got in with the Yacht Owners Association? You know, and we said to the Yacht Owners Association, like, you guys are a huge association, right? You got a lot of buying power. I would like to go and see if I can get you discounts or better deals than the rest of the public on high-end sports cars. Like, what kind of cars are your people most asking for? Oh, the Bugatti. Okay. Right. I mean, I'm just talking out my ass here, right? But now let's say that there was, I'm talking out my ass. Let's say there's 13,000 yacht owners, right? And say, hey, what is the average yacht cost? Oh, it's $5 million minimum, right? That they, again, just making up numbers, right? But now I walk into the Bugatti or the Ferrari place. How does this change my offer? Would I just say, hey, I can help you guys. I got more marketing. Would you guys like some marketing? I got some marketing. No, you could say, I represent, or I'm assisting a yacht owners club with 13,000 members who all own yachts of at least $5 million. They've expressed interest in purchasing Ferraris to go with their yacht. Who would I talk to? What do you think the odds are you're going to get put into contact with somebody?
To my office. He's in the back.
That's right. Because now we're talking the language that they want, right? I went to one of Ryan Moran's little events, what he did with his backroom people. It was actually here in Arkansas. He brought it to Arkansas just so I could, because I was like, dude, I don't want to travel anywhere, right? Like, he's like, what if I did it in Arkansas? I'm like, okay, that'll work, right? So he did it over here in Arkansas, which was pretty cool. But met a kid there. His name was Kuda. I think he's about 21 or 22 at the time, but he'd only been in the States for about 3 years. He was 19 years old. He came from South Africa, came over to the United States, went to work for Procter and Gamble, right? And his first mission for Procter and Gamble is they had these things called crock pots. You're familiar with crock pots? I don't know. They're like the slow cookers, right? But they're trying to work out a partnership deal to where they could get pre-cooked food, because pre-cooked food was starting to become a thing. They wanted to partner with a pre-cooked or a pre-packaged food thing where they could put it in the crock pot and just cook it, right? Does that make sense? So they could offer that thing, right? And I can't remember who he worked, what food company he worked it out with, but did like a multi-million-dollar deal at 19 years old. Put that deal together, and people are like, wow, how'd you do it? 19 years old, from South Africa, you had an accent, right? How'd you put that deal together? Does anybody know the answer based off of what I'm telling you? How did he put that deal together? What was the main key for putting that deal together? I'm really trying to get you guys to really soak this in.
Balls.
That was part of it, right?
And he went using the reputation of Procter and Gamble.
There you go. Go. The influence of Procter and Gamble. Like, how hard do you think it was for him? Like, hey, I'm with Procter and Gamble. We're looking for a food company that would be a good fit for us to sell more of your food, right? Easy peasy. I'm not saying there wasn't negotiations and all that kind of stuff, right? But that's what I'm trying to get you guys to get about recognition and the influencers, right? And get the right marketing IP, 2-page Google Doc, 4-page, whatever your marketing IP is, right? And get it in that flow, right? It's not hard. You say, hey, I'm representing 50,000 people. I'm going to start doing this with my land deals, right? The survival niche, they buy land. So I'm going to start putting out content about how to buy bug out land dirt cheap, right? Then I can go to all the survival sites. They're all interested in how do I get bug out land? How do I get off-grid land? Build a list, right? Then, hey, when I got land available, then I can sell it, right? Now, if I went to those survival people and just said, hey, I got land I'd like to sell, they might do it, right? They might do a pitch, right? Does that make sense? But people that buy gold also buy land, right? It's kind of the same. It's an investment, and more pieces than one, right? Like all kinds of different various things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What else, guys? It looks like I'm talking you guys out.
I'll ask. I got one quick question for you.
Cool, dude.
If you don't mind. So what am I've been trying to use all your information primarily for my own products and also for the various companies I work with. And my own personal passion is a little more on the coaching side, but I've been trying to not pitch marketing and sales and money. And I know they say niches are health, wealth, and relationships. So yeah. I'm just curious, because I've been having a struggle trying to find something to point to, struggling trying to find something that's on a to-do list, trying to find that present pain when it comes to mindset and motivation and procrastination, all these kind of, fuzzy terms. So do you think I should, I'm just curious, any thoughts on that? Should it still probably go towards the money side of it because the benefit of that would still relate to their money? Just curious if I've been struggling trying to get it more dialed in and offer.
Yeah. So you just want to go further down. Like what type of problems let's say mindset, do you solve with mindset? The easiest thing is to think about somebody that you helped, like one particular person, right? Who is your Rudolph, right? You were Santa. Who is your Rudolph? And tell me that story.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, my best recent testimony is somebody who just trying to make, I guess, whenever he gets into a new opportunity, he kind of gets fearful. He kind of goes into kind of like you mentioned, scarcity, abundance. He kind of defaults towards to do what's safe. But he's like, based upon what I've been sharing with him in our group, thinking about who he wants to be, his future self. He's like, then I made a different decision.
Perfect. So you're on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to fill in more story, right? Because you're like general concept, right? But what did it look like? How did he know he was getting fearful? What kind of things showed up when he was getting fearful? What would happen?
Yeah, I guess he just would say no. He'd pass on it. He would say no. I mean, he was going to hire, actually he hired a coach. He spent $5,000 to hire someone to teach him what he didn't know. And that was something different. And he did that 2 months in a row. He spent $10,000.
What was he trying to, what was this hell? What was this heaven island, or what was this hell? Right. Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. He had a red nose, right? And that was his problem. It was very specific. The reindeer would laugh at him. They would call him names, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very specific into the story, right? So you may not have those answers. This is a great opportunity for you to like, hey, this is how I got my first Mojo Man in the Mojo Mastermind. I'm just like, it was a Skype back then. We didn't have Zoom and stuff. I'm like, and we had a relationship already, and he was a marketer, right? But I'm like, dude, I'm wanting to put together this Mojo Mastermind, and I think you'd be like my ideal person, but I'm having some trouble coming up with pain points. Now, anybody other than a marketer, I wouldn't ask it that way, right? But I'm having some trouble coming up with some pain points, right? For you, would it be cool with you if we jumped on Skype, right? He's like, yeah, right. So we jumped on Skype, and I got him talking, right, and going deeper and deeper until I got down to something I could draw a picture of, right? You can't draw a picture of a passionless relationship. What does that look like, right? You can't draw a picture of I'm fearful. Like, what was a time when that fear got in the way? The person, place, thing, time, right? That comes out, right? And so you want to interview those people and find out, like, hey, what were you facing? What have you already tried? Like when somebody says, like, oh, well, I'm just not. And they're gonna be general, and our job is to go down to specific and say, well, I'm just not very good at making money, I guess. Oh, tell me more about that. Like, when was the last time that happened to you, right? So we want to have them focus. Like, we're a movie producer, and we've got to produce a movie scene out of that, right? Did you see I think it was called Happiness with Will Smith, right? So there's a pivotal point in there in that movie where he felt the most disgust and uselessness as a father, right? Just to say, hey, I feel like a terrible father. You know, this was, I can't remember his name in the movie, right? But I felt like a terrible father. I just couldn't make a decision on what career I wanted. That wouldn't be powerful, right? But there's a powerful, powerful scene in there where he's completely out of money. He doesn't have a place to live. He's got a son. And he goes into a public bathroom with his son to spend the night. And he has to wedge his foot on the door to make sure no riffraff comes in. And he's got his son beside him, sitting on this cold, bacteria-ridden floor. And he just starts sobbing. Right? Does that make sense? So now you've got a story, and it may not be those exact things, but when you felt like you let your kids down. I have my story. You probably heard me tell it before. Snow's coming down. It's a few days after Christmas. I know because my rent's late. Christmas tree's up, 0 presents underneath the tree. Does that make sense? So we can find those things Why do we want money? So we don't have to let our kids down. That's one reason, right? Does that make sense? So we just want to go down to those specific points. They don't always have to be that emotional, right? It doesn't always have to be that emotional, but we're going to get clear, right? Like nobody wants money. They want to do something with the money, which is usually to buy love or get love, right? Or get better health. And really what we want, most 98% of the world, unless you were a Buddhist monk, we're trying to improve our status, our social status, right? And feel love. That's ultimately what we're trying to do with that, right? Mm-hmm. And I would interview, you probably heard me tell this story before about interview women, like, man, I think our relationship's over. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. What's happening? Well, there's just no more passion in it anymore. I feel like we're roommates, right? Ding. So that's like, when have you felt like that? Every day. Like, what was it like today? What happened today? Right. So I'm just getting to be more specific, right? Now, when we kiss, it's like brother and sister kissing. One of the ladies told me, like, when my grandpa kisses me, he just gives me this kiss on the cheek, right? Grandpa kisses that was huge. Like, does he kiss you like your grandpa? And like, if you didn't know what that meant, you weren't the right person. But like, the women that felt like they were being kissed by their brother, or kissed by their grandpa, would mash down on that open line. Like, oh my God, right? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. More than like, hey, I can help bring the passion, a subject line, like, bring the passion back in your relationship. Yeah, this shit again. Does that make sense? So I always say specificity and finger pointing spits out cash, right? But so what I would do is just interview some of your past people, right? Tapping is great for it too, right? But even better because they already paid you money, right? So you're looking for those traits that they have, right?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And there could be all kinds of different slices and dices to it. You might be like, well, I was in the military, right? I'm just making it bullshit, right? And I delayed taking the Chiefs exam for I was qualified to take the Chiefs exam for 5 years, and I just never did it, right? Do you see that would make a great story, but it's a great thing of mindset or, those kind of things, right? Where every time I knew I should be reaching out to somebody and drumming up some business, right? I would go play a video game. I would play another Call of Duty or something like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, those kind of things. Those are kind of the things that'll really bring that out for you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome, dude. And some of the weirdest shit will be the stuff that really moves people, right? This is a long time ago, but I don't know if you can tell here, but I haven't shaved all the way down since I quit my job in February 2006, right? And I just told, surprisingly, I just told like, hey, I always swore to myself, if I ever quit working for the man, I would never shave all the way down because I hated it. Like, I would get all these razor bumps. I just, it was just the thing. So I went with the Don Johnson kind of look ever since then, right? And man, does that sell. Like, it's sold that you're like, oh, that, because it may not be the beard. Like, I would never do this. I'm never wearing a fucking tie again, right? It's like, it's like a leash, right? It's like, I never want to wear a tie. They see they even if it's not the thing, right? Like, oh, I resonate with that with a different thing on there, right? It's just weird the way people work. Never wear a tie again. Never have to shave again, right? Like, takes that thing off my to-do list. Right? Does that make sense?
The shaving thing is one of the things I can remember from over 20 years ago, what you talked about.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's still in my brain. It's one of the things I always remember.
Yeah. Just the weirdest little, very symptomatic, small things, right? That really work. Like, I don't know if it still works anymore, but in the weight loss areas, like women have 2 piles of jeans. Like, if you're not a woman, you might not know this, right? But women typically have 2 piles of jeans. They've got the pile that fits them now, and they got the pile that they hope they can get back into, right? You know, like, I'm holding on to these so I can get back into them, right? Those little things. Like I sold so many copies of Magic of Making Up by putting little bullets that were symptoms. Like do you find it like you can't listen to music because it just tears your heart out, or do you? Right, then I flipped them. Like, do you listen to music all the time? Because it, you know, right? All those little things. I'm not sure, but I think I coined the word text message terrorism, right? Like, hey, did you have a few drinks and then like you found yourself just texting, you know, drunk dialing text message terror, like, oh my God, that was me. All those things that are very, very specific, right? Is what gets people moving on that path, right? That's the present pain part of the pre-sell of the bread, right? And then like, here's why you keep having the pain. Then you come with that new plan, if that makes sense. Anybody else? Let me check my. Well, awesome. Again, if you're in Bugatti, we're probably gonna do this. I have to look at I think I've got something going on next Tuesday. Probably Tuesday, the same time. We'll have a little Bugatti meeting on that. But this call will be. We'll probably dice it up a little bit and put that in the members area. So you guys are gonna. I want you guys to feel super good about selling the muscle car, turbo, and the Ferrari versions of this, right? So
one last question.
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Bugatti versus Beamer, because just curious, what's the difference? I don't have either, but I'm tempted to figure out, but what's the difference between those two?
So Bugatti, I'm just giving you licensing rights to sell everything here, right? So you're going to sell the muscle car, turbo, and the Ferrari. You can't sell the Bugatti because it's basically licensing rights, right? You can package those up any way you like. You can sell them individually. I probably wouldn't sell you can sell muscle car individually, but you can package them up, right? You can sell them for anything that you want as long as it's above $99. I would probably recommend, if you're going to package them all up, to sell it between like $199 and $499. You can add to it. You can add stuff to it if you want to. And I'm going to give you some marketing materials. You're going to get I'm going to modify the GDOT that I'm using to sell it right now. I'm going to modify that. To give you some pre-sale materials, pre-sale emails, and some posts, right, to sell it. But the way that it'll work is you'll keep 100% of the commission or 100% of the sale. You'll take the payment on your own stuff, and then I'm going to give you links to give to your customer, and they'll just go and put in their name and all the details, and then it'll be delivered through Kajabi on that aspect, right? So you'll have to, if you're giving them bonuses or something like that, you'll need to do that outside of that. So if you're going to like give them a mindset training bonus on top of it, right? You have to give that to them separate outside of that, if that makes sense. But totally, you can package it, repackage it, do whatever you want. You just can't sell. You can't say, hey, now you can sell this, right? You can't sell the licensing rights to that. If that makes sense. Awesome, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with me so long. I just love this stuff, so I never get tired. I usually wait until I have to use the boys' room. That's usually my cutoff time. But super honored and thrilled to mix Mojo with you guys. And I'll catch you guys later.
Thanks,